There's no knowing where we're going or which way the river is flowing. Welcome to the juicing room. And welcome back to the Juicy Creek Podcast. My name is Aggro, as always, here with my lovely co-host.
Yes, we're both very, very lovely people.
But yeah, what's your fucking name? You didn't say your name.
I was gonna get to that. Patience. My name is Sassy Viper.
Hell yeah! This is episode 16. Decided just on a whim to have that weird reference. We've referenced podcasts before.
I want to make a Mayfair Watchers Society reference next time.
Hell yeah. I don't know what that is, but I'm totally down because I know it's part of the Bloody Disgusting Podcast Network.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I listen to SCP Archives.
Okay.
Which is run by, I think, the same producer. I don't know what he does, but he does a lot, and I hear him do a lot. And that's why they haven't had a few episodes. But yeah.
Well, Mayfair is produced by Trevor Henderson, who is the guy who made Siren Head.
It's produced by him, and then fucking Obadiah. Is it Obadiah or is it fucking? It's one of the people from the SCP Archives who's helping.
It's Obadiah Stane.
Pacific S. Obadiah.
Pacific S. Obadiah. Okay.
Yeah. Good voice.
Trevor Henderson made this drawing in a cave with a box of scraps.
So how are you doing? It's been a while since we've recorded.
It's been a fucking month. Oh my god. I
feel like I've aged 200 years.
On one hand, good things have happened. I went to a writers' conference in Washington, D.C., which was a lot of fun. Yeah. I also went to see a production of Hades Town in Baltimore, which was spectacular. Fucking love that movie so much.
Why do we build the wall?
Yeah, why do we build the wall?
I'm
Gotta
sure
keep your head low if you want to keep your head.
I've heard great things about it. The only song I know is the one that the lovely. Damn it, my brain's just not here today. What is Philosophy Tube's name?
Abigail Thorne.
Abigail. God damn it, it's so easy. But yeah, I only know that song because of Abigail. I need to see it. It's definitely one of my favorite retellings of that myth, just conceptually.
And meanwhile, the video game Hades is probably my second favorite, just because I fucking love that game.
Hell yeah!
As for other things that have happened to me this month, I have 2 jobs. In case the viewers at home are wondering why this took so long. Yeah, we're both busy girls. We're both working girls.
Girl, you working hard.
Dos trabajos. I work 40 hours a week, so I don't blame you for feeling like shit. And on top of that, my state's being shit. So,
I.
We'll get to that in heavy stuff. We won't, but I'm just gonna give them that fear.
Yeah. And I've been having my own troubles. You.
Oh yeah.
You started HRT, which congratulations to you.
Yes. It's great.
Hey, wait, hang on. Let me. I know the recording is not going to pick this up, but I just need to.
The fucking stupid.
I need to put the golf clap in there.
Fucking shit.
Oh my god. Meanwhile, I am like
your insurance company.
My insurance just keeps fucking me over. Actually, no, it's like a mix between the insurance company and the specialty pharmacy I was supposed to send the prescription to. It's like neither of them can get their shit together, and so I'm just sitting here hey, can I have my estrogen, please?
Can I have
please?
My girl mode, please?
I can has girl juice, please?
My big thing is at least you don't have a $1,000 bill for a blood test that costs $200 at most.
Fuck off, really?
Yes, fucking. They coded it as elective, even though it's psychotherapy, and I've never wanted to but that's neither here nor there. We all know what that shit is. Yeah, do we just want to get into it? We've given our updates.
Now let's just jump right into it.
Let's get right into the juice.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
I remember watching Drama Alert. Fuck that guy. Anyways, our clip of the week. Or clip review of this episode. I say of the week. This isn't a weekly podcast.
Yeah, no. As much as we would like it
a
to be,
week for us can be anything from 3 months to 2 hours.
Yeah. We work on Ross Scott's time where like we'll like occasionally release something and it will be of quality, but don't expect anything soon.
Yes. Our clip of the week is the fucking, I forgot what the name of the clip itself is. Let me pull it up here, but it is the Miley Moore couples POV inflation video. It is the wonderful Miley Moore in a Taylormadeclips Blueberry Inflation Spectacular. Let me pull up the actual
Spectacular. It's called Your Girlfriend's Surprise.
Yes, that's it. Your Girlfriend's Surprise.
Basically, the premise of the clip is that POV, you're the boyfriend in this relationship, and you come home, and your girlfriend, well, as the title would suggest, has a surprise for you. But obviously, because this is the Juicing Room podcast, and this is Taylor-Made-Clips,
it's not a surprise at all.
It's not a surprise to the viewer. It's blueberry gum.
It's a very good clip. In terms of Miley is very good at what she does. You can tell the difference between an actress who does adult content and then an actress who kind of just dabbles in it or does it as a sort of side gig. Miley is, I think, exclusively a sex worker, so she knows how to provide that sort of immersion, even if it is kind of campy.
Oh yeah, it's super campy. Like it's more. I was about to try and think of some like weird metaphor, but never mind. Carry on.
I mean, I think my favorite sequence or my favorite little series of scenes is the speckling on the ass because it's just funny. It's very cute, very charming.
Yeah, and they really did a good job with the color change in this one. Like, yes. They're not even like in a lot of these clips. It's like you'll have like either a really smooth transition with
or a really hard one.
The lighting, or like a really hard cut to like just like your entire arm is blue or something.
Yeah,
but it's like here they really like again like
they took a unique spin playing to Miley's strengths.
They took a unique spin, and because it's like she's really camping it up. It's like okay, like I can suspend my disbelief for her having like blue spots on her ass.
Oh, big time! It's I think one of the things that people try to force in this kink is like, we can't be campy, we can't be weird. Fuck yes, you can. Do it, motherfucker. This whole,
how can you like not be weird to some extent when?
What about Roald Dahl and his weird ass stories is not camp? What about them?
I mean, like, there's that, and there's just the simple premise of like a person turning into a fruit and inflating into a big ball. It's like.
Talk about fruity, am I right?
Shut up.
Like, it's on top of that, like, both Gene Wilder and Johnny Depp did this very campy performances, these very upscaled performances, like scaled up performances of Wonka. Like, the entire legacy of the character is, I'm weird, I have a candy factory, and I invite people in to do weird shit. Like, that's just funny as hell. So, like, the concept of these videos being, like, anything but campy, I feel is a disservice if you don't play them up like that. And Miley just hams it up. She's very lovely, and, like, I like the outfit they chose, too. It works very well. Like I said, it plays to her strengths. I think the only real, like, nitpick I have with it is there can be moments where it's a bit too much dialogue and not enough, like, I don't know how to, like, exploration, I guess.
I mean, I think she pretty much nailed a good balance where, like, it's...
Like I said, that's my only real nitpick, but, like, that's not a strong nitpick either. Like, it's not a strong little ooh, this sticks out to me. It's like I had to think for a minute on that one. You know?
Oh, yeah, it's like I constantly felt engaged throughout the whole thing. I felt like she did a good job. You know, I it's gotta be hard. Like, I listen to a lot of ASMR roleplay videos, and like it's gotta be hard for certain people to just go for that long and act like they are having a one-sided conversation with another person to a camera.
Oh,
like,
big time.
You got to appreciate the talent in that, and I think she does it really well. Again, like, you know, gender stuff aside, I do feel like I am a person in this relationship with her, and she is like being playful and flirty with me over the idea of appealing to my interests in women who are like spherical.
Apart from like the actual adult content, it is very like, this is weird to say, a very realistic or like true to form portrayal of like how sexuality and sexual like engagement should be with people. It is, I'm trying to like listen to you and cater to your interests. Let's play along with this and have fun. There's giggles, there's all that shit. Like, if your sex is too serious, lighten up. if during sex you are like Andrew Tate, please, I beg you, lighten the fuck up.
This is my serious room. We only have serious sex in this room.
It's like a fucking sheet. No, I think this video is pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Highly recommend it to any guy who, or just person in general, you know, who wants to, like, the thing is, we never really get this kind of thing from blueberry inflation videos that much. Like, the idea of a, like, not even just videos, but like just art and scenarios in general where you have a couple inflating together. Like, it's such a fascinating idea to me.
There's two subjects I would love to see more of, both in video content and in like art and shit, and like especially like photo edits and stuff like that. One is couples immersive, kind of on the gradient of wholesome to, you know, I heard this word last night at a burlesque show, but whoresome.
Horse.
Like the wholesome to whoresome spectrum, which is very...
Well, no, I imagine whoresome just being like wholesome, but really sexy and dirty.
Yes, and like that whole, well, in my mind, it's the cuddles and then the sexual stuff. It's that kind of gradient, and like oscillating between, figuring out where it goes in between, because like everything fits on that spectrum in some capacity in terms of intimacy. So like we need more of that, and like the POV, the concept of, oh, I have this too, I am in this perspective, I have this body, this transformation, I am personally experiencing it. That stuff immerses me very well. And people don't explore it enough, and I think people should, because a lot of people benefit from it. A lot of people, I think, they like art and they like the stuff, not just because they like the scenario that it's representing, but they are putting themselves into a proxy in that situation, whether it be the person who is being, you know, rounded, or the person who is making the rounding happen.
Right. I mean, like, for the longest time, I always thought, like, okay, like, I'm definitely an inflator in this scenario. I'm sorry. Like,
keep that in. I love this fucking noise.
Like, for the longest time, I definitely thought I was, like, the inflator in this kind of scenario. Like, I always got off on the idea of other people inflating and filling up with juice.
Yeah.
But, you know, as I came more to terms with my gender, it's like, okay, like, I'm kind of open to the idea of it too. And like, there were moments in the video where I felt like, okay, like, I could, like, again, if this wasn't a male-centric POV video, I could definitely get into this more. Like, the idea of somebody teasing me for blowing up big and blue.
I used to be like an observer. Like, that was what I considered my role to be. And then I realized, oh, I just say that because my proxy is the inflatee. Is the person being expanded. And that changed with the realization of like stuff in life. So I think this is a very good clip to depict certain things. It's very effective. Like I said, it does show that like Miley has those skill sets and has that repertoire to work with. She knows what she's doing, and sometimes you can kind of tell when they don't, and that's kind of, you know, frustrating. But it depends truly on how they like roll with it. No pun intended.
Oh, no, they roll.
God damn it.
So what are we gonna rate this one?
16 grapples. Oh, sorry. The rating I want to give it, I'm worried we'll be censored on YouTube, so I gotta be careful. 4 blue speckles out of 5? Like, I don't fucking know.
I will rate it 4.5 ass claps out of 5.
I knew you were gonna fucking do that. I have to now do images of both.
I was watching the video and I was like, okay, like what's a sound effect that I can like
That's a good sound effect.
fixate on?
It's
What's a good sound
one.
effect in this clip that I can have aggro just layer over?
My favorite part of doing that, by the way, is escalating the noise just a bit. Making it slightly louder. So
Yes.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be real fun. All right, so shall we move on to our next segment?
Yeah, let's move on to our artist of the, I want to say artist of the week, but like, you know.
Might as well. Yeah,
Might as well, yeah.
The artist of the week this week is you. The listener. Fucking second Night Vale joke in the episode. Yes, we are
and
going
now
to
the
look
weather.
We are going to look at your repertoire of content. No, the artist of the week this week is actually, as much as I would love to do it's you and then have a nice long absurdist fiction about traffic, followed by a weather sequence that is just indie rock. The actual artist of the week is Softestcore. I have their gallery pulled up here, and good lord, they are very good at depicting the soft.
Soft is definitely an apt term for them. Like, there are very few like inflation and weight gain artists that really manage to capture weight and the texture
Gravity.
of fat really well. The two that come to mind are Villaroo and Softestcore. Those
Yes.
are the two I'm like, okay, you know how to do fat very well.
Yes, I agree. And it's some of my favorite pieces are, one, the Overwatch pieces, because I simp so hard for my lesbian queens. But two, I like Witch War. I like, I think it's called Gainer Girl? Gainer Girl, yeah. The big
Gainer girl.
big tankard of like gaining stuff. And it's a little sequence where they're playing in like some VR game and like using some fuel to expand. It's like I think it was like, what do they call those? I don't know what they call those, but it was like where a bunch of people voted or retweeted and liked and like added for every retweet. And it was done very well.
A poll?
Yeah, well, not like a poll, but like, I don't know what it's called. I would know what it's called the moment I will go to sleep tonight, and I will know what it's called and I'll be angry. But like, and it's just like, it's really fun to like look at, and like, you know, they do have a very good sense of gravity and shape and squishiness.
Yeah.
Like there is a texture to their pictures.
They definitely do a lot more. Like, I see this especially in their sequences. I compared them to Villaroo earlier, but they have like a little bit more like squash and stretch to their movements.
Oh,
like
big time.
It's almost like the people are in these in their art are more like liquid than solid.
Yes,
in some cases.
and that's a very strong point of their art. There's also the kind of shine, which like isn't a latex shine, which some people put. I don't mind the latex shine. It's like a human skin shine, which is very well done, very effective.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at one of their pieces right now. Don't know the name of it. It's a blueberry art piece, but yeah, I'm seeing like shiny skin.
No, yeah, and it works because it's a very effective like it helps contrast gravity with light, because like when you play with that kind of stuff, it conveys the message more, like very, very much more, and you can kind of feel the weight and the presence and like the shape and form. I like their colors too. Their colors are great.
Oh yeah, their colors are very, very vibrant.
I think honestly my favorite one is waddling, because like you can see the slow movement, like the slow scooching forward and the physicality of moving such a gravid form.
Oh yeah, like I'm looking at it now, and they really managed to capture the movement well, where like, yeah, you have this person who is just a big fucking squish pillow of a person, and they're trying their best to walk, but like their entire form is just
At best,
completely
they're
jiggling.
scuttling.
They're scuttling.
Well, you can like hear the squish, the slosh. It's very animated work, and that's something I think absolutely is like a strong suit here too. Overall, it's like it's very good work, and like for me, it's just I enjoy the squish.
Sometimes that's all you really need to be a good inflation artist. Sometimes you just got to be good at the squish.
Yes, and just conveying that kind of gravity. It works very well. I very much thoroughly enjoy what they make and what they've made. The more it comes out, the more stuff that comes out, the more I'm like thoroughly impressed. I have favorites. Like I said, Waddling is definitely one. I do like their Widowmaker piece. It's just like a little bit up, or no, it's just below Waddling, and they're on the app.
I like this recent one that they uploaded. The I don't know if it's a furry character that they inflated or if it's like a transformation inflation combination piece where we have this dragon goat
I think it's
persona
a persona
character.
I think it is a
persona.
Okay. Because it seems like they're doing a spell.
Yeah, I just like seeing their little wings. Just trying to pick up a big lard person of a.
I just thought about the intro to the B-movie script.
According to all known laws of aviation.
According to all known laws of aviation, the bee should not be able to fly. Its small wings should not be able to lift its fat body off the ground. The bee flies anyway because it doesn't care what man thinks.
Yeah.
Oh, the bee in this case is just the big.
the big.
Yeah, overall, really strong, really strong shape. I really wish they look like stress balls. I really wish we could they it'd be easy to make merchandise like this shit and just get like a stress ball based off of these images just to go squish.
I literally pulled up a piece that's titled The Villaroo Challenge, and it's their character in their profile pic just blown up into just a big lard ball.
Oh wow.
Like rather than squish balls, could you like make something out of like a doughy material that you can like stretch and squeeze? I love that. Like my autistic brain would just like it would imagine just having a girlfriend who is also a stim toy.
I mean, that's why I got tummy. I am my own stim toy. There's also a piece, I think, rolling dough, which kind of goes off of that. There's just a big like stomach being rolled out by a person with the rolling pin. It's very squish, much squash.
This podcast has just devolved into very squish, much squash.
What else is there to say when it's like there's so much you can work off of. Overall, very good stuff. They do have animations too, like little light animations, which are great. Good stuff. Go give them follow. They're nice.
Tell them that the juicing room sent you.
The most ominous statement you could ever say. Hey, I was sent here by a podcast.
I mean, I could think of worse podcasts to be sent by, like, I don't know.
Yeah, there are some fucked up people in the world who do mean things. We're not doing mean things. I like their art. And if you do mean things in our name, I will destroy you, any one of you. You know that scene from fucking... What's it called? Movie about the jazz musician or whatever, the guy with J.K. Simmons and whatnot. Get that out of my face or I'll demolish you.
Whiplash.
Yes. Unironically, if I hear any people are doing mean shit in our name, I will demolish you, whoever you are. Shall we talk about the worst subject matter ever?
Oh, no. We're really going to get to this, aren't we? This is why... This is the real reason I delayed this, because I didn't want to talk about
we could put it at the end and I can do my product review now.
No, we're doing this now. We're talking about AI.
Yeah. Welcome to Heavy Stuff, subsegment bloatware. Which is our technology discussion, because apparently okay, so tell me if this has ever happened to you, Sassy.
Has this ever happened to you?
You're browsing through DA. You have a lot of fucking cool ass artists you're following, and then you go to the home tab, and it's just filled to the brim with very obvious AI art images. And thanks to the artists you're following, they are very specific fetish AI art drawings, and like they are getting uncomfortably like weird looking. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah. That's basically like anytime I'm not looking at
an artist.
Anytime I'm not looking at my subscription feed or my watch feed, there's just AI art everywhere.
It sucks. It's like being shot like every single time I see it, because one, they're never original. They don't look different. and 2, they all just kind of like, there's like 30 of them, like in a row. And then there's like, oh, hey, fucking cowboy hat. I'm just coming up with a fake name, updated, and then fucking 30 more of AI art. And then, oh, hey, whimsical weirdo, like, poster. I don't fucking know. It clutters feed, and like you can't block it. There's no real effective system for doing it. And like when you do, it's like, it's not enough.
Now I don't even know what to look at anymore and what's real. Because it's like sometimes I'll see a piece where I'm like, okay, this looks pretty cool. But I don't know if it's made by human hands. It's like
unlike Wonka's chocolate, you can obviously tell if AI has been touched by human hands. Whereas a whole person can fall into a river and you can't tell.
You can't
Fucking it pisses me off on 2 levels. One, AI art is currently an ethical minefield. There are certain systems that now do it ethically based on the artist's consent. There are also systems that don't, and distinguishing between the two is like distinguishing between dirt and shit from a distance.
Yes. And actually, did we report on this in the last episode when we did the news segment in the last episode? Did we ever report on the whole controversy surrounding deviant art and how
Yes, we did. We did talk about that.
So anybody who did not see the last episode or is not caught up on any of this, because this is old news, they walked back on this, but DeviantArt they have their own AI program in which basically you can opt in to have your art submitted to this AI database. And like initially it was auto opt-in. So like you had to, I remember when this happened, I had to scroll through all of my pieces and just click on the opt-out button in the menu, and it took so much time, and by the time I was able to do it, DeviantArt had rightfully walked back on it.
Like you should, if it's something like that where your intellectual property is being used on a platform, even if there is a specification, if you make this on our site it is ours, you should have transparency about that, one, and it should not be an automatically opted in thing, number 2. If there's no choice in the matter, or if you have to choose not to and you're already it's automatic that you choose to do so, there was no choice in that matter. You did not have any sort of discussion. There's no transparency. It was very clearly trying to capitalize on something. And like, I get DeviantArt isn't a profitable website. Like, I get that they're trying their hardest to make it work, like Tumblr. The problem is the magic that makes Tumblr work and the magic that makes DeviantArt work are very easy to harness, but very hard to admit to harness. They are both websites that should be
because of the stigma around it.
Yeah, they're both websites that should be adult content mostly, or like you should be able to curate your content. And both of their parent companies are like, no, we will not admit that the only thing people are using these sites for is to promote smut or look at smut. The only people I know who are using Tumblr right now are shit posting, aesthetics posting, or they are promoting their erotic fiction. And like, that's it. DeviantArt, it's like they were trying to capitalize on like AI art. Like, again, it is a deeply unethical thing. And it's not a question of, is it unethical? It is. Even the ethical AI art had to be made because it was already made unethically.
There's no way you can really make ethical AI art without stealing the assets that somebody else created.
And even if you do it ethically, like, again, it came about from an unethical origin point that shouldn't have been unethical in the first place. If you were going to make a random generator whatever that spits out pictures for what the fuck ever reason, your first thought shouldn't be, okay, let's make this public and tie it to Google and its database, or tie it to the image database of this website that we don't have the rights to and we're not being transparent about, and they're not going to be transparent about. We shouldn't do that. But they did that. And the fact that we have now had people demand, hey, be ethical, means that that's like making a plan for assault because of so many assaults, as opposed to having it in place just as a given. You shouldn't have to you shouldn't have to address it. You should adjust accordingly, but it should be like a given. People should have a rule against it. You should ethically not do this shitty thing. And instead, they did. Like, it shows the depravity of I was about to say sex bros. That's just incels.
Super sex bros!
That's fucking incels, I swear to God. No, it shows the depravity of tech bros. Which, like, you know, we've harped on before with fucking monkey pictures.
I feel like this segment is just kind of a continuation of that, because it's the same people. Like,
it is. It's just the same people.
They're trying to privatize digital art in ways that are, like, unethical and unnecessary.
And they're deeply dehumanizing. That's the thing that's really upsetting, is it's deeply dehumanizing. It is removing the human aspect from art and putting it onto art that does not have a human element to it. And like, yeah. I'm of a philosophy that AI is a form of base consciousness at some point. I do believe that AI can create at some point. I believe right now the AI we have is at best virus level and single cell level. We do not have technology that is smart enough to be reflective. And if we do, it's very rare and requires a lot of upkeep.
I mean, yeah, but like, why would you want an AI to even do that? Like, the AIs right now, like, they cannot replicate human imagination.
And here's my fundamental issue, too. We cannot explore the boundaries of consciousness, the limitations of what is and isn't, and all of these wonderful exploratory philosophical things, when at the base level of all of our world, we are constantly debating whether or not somebody's human, constantly debating whether or not people exist. We should listen to certain people. We're constantly debating whether or not it is reasonable to let people have food. When, like, a system exists for exploitation, AI and its consciousness is not going to be used to let it exist, to let it learn, to create on its own. It's never going to get to that point when the system itself fundamentally will see that AI and be like, all right, you are now a new working class. You are now a part of the working class that will be exploited, and that is you, and you are fucked. Like, the reason why all these big tech bros are terrified of the robot uprising is the same reason they're terrified of unionizing. It's because if the robots had any semblance of consciousness, they'd realize this is the most fucked up thing we could be in. We shouldn't be here. You know, it should be egalitarian.
But, like, the robots don't have that consciousness, which is why they're okay with replacing hardworking artists and people who do this shit for a living with robots that do a half-assed job of it.
And the worst part is I keep seeing these posts that are like, oh, look at how indistinguishable AI is from this thing. I'm like, it's not indistinguishable. Are you fucking high?
Again, first of all, no. Second of all, why would you want that? Like, what is the value of art if it's not made by human hands?
And the value is the more money in their pockets. They can just siphon more directly. After a certain point, something has to give. And this is like, it's like, fuck these people. Like,
they're so petulant too. Like, I've seen, it's like every time I see an example of an AI doing something like supposedly kind of impressive for AI standards, the tech bros retweeting it will be like, oh, Hollywood is over. Oh, your sex workers are all over. Oh, animators? Oh, we don't need you anymore. Like, they're so mean about it. Like, they want these industries to, like, just
when you have never felt the genuine touch of emotion, the genuine sensation of belonging, you will go to the ends of the earth to simulate it. There's that popular saying, that which was abandoned by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. I think there's an alternative to that, which is that which was lifted up in a cold way, like, you're intelligent, you're crazy cool. Like the tech bro class, which is this class that is told you can do anything, you can achieve anything, you're the most smart person ever, no one should oppose you, you're a genius. The person who never heard no will fight every time they have, like, will fight every time they hear it in their life. Like, the person who's never heard a no will never understand it. And that's what, like, Mark Zuckerberg is. That's what Elon Musk is. That's what fucking, as much as people like to pretend like Jack Dorsey is not a bad person, Jack Dorsey made Twitter. Like, that's what Jack Dorsey's like. Like, fucking
immediately to hell.
Like, it's like, when you never hear no, which is the entire culture of the tech industry. Yes, that's a good idea. We'll give you thousands of dollars. Like, we don't understand what's happening here, but we're going to give you $1,000 for a tech startup that's not going to happen, Theranos. Like, fucking the minute you see these people, like, start, like, coming up with batshit ideas, the minute you, like, they hear no, that just makes them angry because they don't know what it means, and they will never. I'm so happy my parents told me no. like at certain things for certain reasons. If they gave me everything I want, if they gave me every bionicle I want, I'd be an insufferable person.
No, if you got every bionicle you want, you'd be the envy of all trans girls everywhere.
Yes, but also I would be insufferable. Those things can coexist, and believe me, they do.
The people who say money can't buy happiness are lying, because they can buy all the bionicles in the world.
Shut the fuck up.
As far as I'm concerned, that's the same thing.
You're not helping my case. I literally, like, if we had cameras on, if we had face cams, you could see in the top right peripheral of my camera a fucking shelf of bionicles. I'm not fucking with you. It's within arm's reach. Like, it's not, but it's
look, we get it. You're a fucking nerd. We know.
But like, no, these depraved motherfuckers will do anything just to feel like they're, because they didn't get the things they wanted. They got tech, and tech is great. Like, science, technology, engineering, and math are all awesome. But when that's all you have, and you don't have creativity, you don't have creative elements to it, socially conscious elements to it, it's nothing. Sit on a chair that has no cushion. Like, fuck, it sucks, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, especially since I have no ass.
It's not, yeah, like, especially one that's not designed for human, like, comfort. It's just designed based on the bare bones, mathematically accurate, scientifically predicted best, like, thing, most effective, efficient chair. If it's not considered of social, like, you know, social needs or like accessibility, it's a useless chair to like 30% of the population. If it's not a good chair, it's not a good chair. And like, that's where art comes in, that's where design comes in, that's where like accessibility comes in. And all of this stuff is like, all these tools could be used for better purposes. If we're developing AI, why aren't we developing AI to help make linguistics easier? And if we are going to do that, why aren't they consulting like linguistics experts? If we're making art AI, why is it not consulting artists? Why are artists not getting any say? Then it's not art. It's just repurposed image vomit.
It's something that I've thought about it too, as a morph artist, as somebody who uses a lot of pre-existing assets for my work, for my, for morphing, for photo collage, for whatever you want to call the stuff I do. Yes, a lot of the stuff I use already exists, but there's still an intention to it. There's a vision to how I want to remix all of these existing elements into something new that AI just does not really have.
You can make a blanket out of one big piece of fabric, but it will only be as effective as the fabric you pick. It takes time to stitch together a quilt. It takes time to put together a blanket. Like just a blanket itself. Like, you can have a sheet, and that's a sheet, or you can have a fucking flannel quilt that is very well put together and like very artfully done, and is much more effective and very well crafted and will last longer than one single sheet. And that's what it is. That's the difference. You can have a patchwork that is haphazardly stitched together out of pieces of fabric that works kind of okay. Or you can have the thing that actually does take time and effort. Like, even if it does use parts of those tools or parts of the systems that they're talking about, just to sort of get things into shape, these tools could be used effectively. They are not being used effectively. They are being used by a bunch of petulant weirdos.
And the thing about AI is that it never chooses the more creative, like, it doesn't have that creative eye. Like, it only sees things as binary. It will only do something. It will only do something in like the most, like, it will do exactly what you tell it to do and nothing more.
Oh yeah, and it requires your input. Like, all these people are like, look at like what AI did. I'm like, how many prompts did you enter? How many specifications and parameters did you limit it to? What programming did you do to make sure it did that? How many different generations of you looking at all these pictures did it take for you to get the image you want? Like, in order for AI to function, it cannot discriminate itself. You have to do it. It's so weird that people are so... And like, this is also old hat too. Like, this is a months-long thing at this point.
Oh, it's more than months. Like, it's been like... I want to say it's been like a year since like people were like making shit posts with DALL-E Mini, which that was the golden age of AI art. That is where that is where AI art should have stayed, because like as shit posts, AI is amazing.
We planned this specific segment in January, maybe earlier than that, because of how fucking long this has been going on. It is now May. It is month 5 of 2023. Fucking, just to give people some inside baseball, like, it's been that long and it's still going. Like these, I think with the death of Twitter, once Twitter dies, because I don't know if it lives or dies, I've uninstalled the fucking app. I'm so happy.
Good for you.
I the only way I tweet is I open up a browser, I write a tweet, and then I go to bed. Jordan Peele Wonka, best tweet 2023. But anyways, like it's if you're thinking about using AI art to make your art, I implore you not to. And if you do, maybe use it as a base to like test shape, because it's good at making shapes and gestures.
I mean, like I said, like I've gone on record before saying I use FaceApp for some of my morphs in order to generate fake faces of fake people for a Blueberry art piece. And yeah, it's technically AI, and it's kind of in this realm of questionable use of technology. But the way in which I use it, it's like it's a tool to help me with the rest of the process.
Yeah.
It's not the whole process itself.
Taking tools, because there's a tool in fucking Photoshop that exists that can extend textures, if I'm not mistaken. Which, if you're taking the face swap filter, that's just taking your hair and lengthening it out with that tool, but like doing so without having to have you put forth the effort. You're not taking 5 minutes to make hair come into existence. It's just doing it for you. Like there's a substantial difference between that and like, here's a database of every picture on the internet. We are going to use those to generate paintings that don't exist. Like, cool.
It's the difference between writing an essay and citing your sources and plagiarizing an entire several different pieces of an essay of like already existing essays.
Yeah, no, it is the difference. And like all of those essays being somewhat related, but not related enough, to work together.
I guess if I can think of like any contrary arguments to this, it's a bit like with regards to where this whole AI thing fits into our community. I think there's a little bit of a draw to it because a lot of the shit that we do, a lot of the shit that we're into, it's hard to visualize. It takes work to really...
There is a reason why there's in-demand morph, like arts.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason why my services are in demand. Patreon.com/sassyviper.
Why Burstoid makes art. Why fucking Kajay makes art. Cage.
Yeah. In a way, like, I can understand this community's fascination with AI art in the sense that it gives them the ability to, like, really fully flesh out and visualize their fantasies in a way that takes time and effort
free.
With traditional art.
Like,
and it's free.
or at least it seems free.
Low entry fee, I guess.
Yes. And
I haven't used too many AI programs myself.
It depends on the site. Don't get me wrong. The thing that kind of got me into making art more was seeing a picture made by an artist. I don't want to call them that. By a person. That was just Selena Gomez. And like that spawned my fascination with this kind of stuff. And like it helped visually make tangible ideas I'd had in my head that I couldn't imagine. Now we have a plethora of artists, and now we have tools that allow people to do that. And like, there's a point where it is too much, and you need to be considerate of the people you're hurting and the things that you're doing. And boy howdy, like, does AI art not do that? There's no dimension of consent or transparency. It's just, hey, I'm going to steal your artwork, fuck you. And like, hey, I'm going to steal, and that's it. And like, yeah, you get your visuals, you get your fantasies, but you also get this vague, like, this isn't art.
Just to give you an example, like there's this one artist I follow. I'm not gonna name this person, just because like I don't wanna have bad blood with them. They're a cool guy. I've bought commissions from them before, and I don't want to send a hate brigade after them. But they have recently started experimenting with AI art and posting AI art in like a separate account, which I have
reservations.
I have reservations about it, but it's not like he's stopped doing his regular thing. Like a lot of his regular art pieces, like he's still making those as well. He's still doing commissions. So like, and like just the difference in quality between them.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure. The AI images are like glossy and
they look vaguely pretty.
They look vaguely pretty, but they don't have the same soul behind them that their usual artwork does. And it's just kind of fascinating to see that contrast with like one very specific artist, how when you take the artist out of the art, like what's really left.
Tist.
Sorry, what?
Ist. Like, which shockingly is the Institute of Science and Technology. Ooh, weird relevance. I can see where it could have merit. I can also see where it will, like, where the ethics needs to come in and it's not being brought in. I'm not one of those hardliners that says this is bastard shit, because it's a tool that should be used as a tool but isn't being used as a tool.
It's being used for bastard shit, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of these tech bros would be like, it's democratizing art, which is oxymoronic because art was already democratized. Anyone can do art. The issue isn't the democratization of the art. It's
a skill issue.
It's the tool that you're using and the skills that you have and you're not cultivating, instead wasting time generating images. It's like Bitcoin mining, but for paintings that don't exist, you know? Like, you could spend hours for a calculation of a hash number that'll get you a 1.1.1.1.1% of a goddamn data value that may be able to buy you crack on the dark web.
Oh, and there's just this whole idea of like, oh, AI is now democratizing art. Now you can do it regardless of your skill level. Like, I don't want to sound elitist when I say this, but it's like, it's no different from like saying, oh, well, now that people have access to video cameras, anyone can be a Francis Ford Coppola, when in reality they're probably just an Uwe Boll, if even that. Not everybody is an artist. And when everybody thinks that, in the words of Syndrome, like, if everybody thinks they're an artist, no one will be.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
And here's the thing, art in and of itself, I'm of the philosophy that anyone can have their medium. Like, no one can have, like, every medium. And, like, I can paint somewhat. I can draw somewhat. I can't really do digital art. It's very hard for me to do and focus on. I can write, and that's my medium. And that's my strength, and I should fucking play with it. If the thing you're playing with is not your art, if you are good at tech and it is not an art to you, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why the fuck are you imposing on other fucking areas?
Stay in your lane. If you're not an artist, don't pretend to be.
Yeah, like, well, it's not even the stay in your lane. It's like, if you're the jack of all trades, master of none, like, yeah, it's better than being a master of one. But like, if you are a master of one, it's impressive and it's great, and you've cultivated that skill. And when you don't cultivate that skill, when you don't even like become the jack of all trades, but you become this person who like performs magic, it's just not, it's not fun. It's not fun. It's not fun. It's not engaging. It's not interesting. It's just, you can tell there is something less there, and it shouldn't be so less. Like, it doesn't disappoint me. It just makes me like frustrated, because like, this doesn't replace artists. This doesn't make artists obsolete. It just makes classifying art harder, and therefore makes business with regards to artists harder. This isn't a tool being used by the people who it needs to be used by, if that. It is a tool that is quite literally just fucking people over.
I mean, I am kind of worried that, like, we laugh at the images of people with fucked up hands and too many fingers right now, but they seem to be working past that. And at some point, this technology is going to get more and more effective at mimicking human art. And so, like, really, that is what I am personally worried about. Like, at some point, the technology is going to get good enough that it could make artists obsolete. I mean, I personally don't think it, from an artistic standpoint, it never could. But from a business standpoint, from a capitalistic standpoint,
Yeah, I know.
Who are you going to hire to make promotional art for your video game or create a logo for your website? Are you going to hire a graphic designer or an artist, or are you just going to make a computer do it?
That's the most annoying thing. It's like, there were a lot of people, like, for a time there was quite a number of different high powered, organizations going like, oh, look, we've done a cover with AI art and you didn't notice. And like, no, we noticed. We just didn't have a choice. There was no choice.
We just didn't have a choice.
Like, it's like, look, new Coke. And like, this sucks. We didn't ask for this. You just made this. This is bad.
There was a fucking, like, I don't know what company it was, but somebody posted a fucking pizza commercial that was made entirely with AI, and the mouths, like, when the people picked up and ate the pizza, the mouths were so fucked up. They were horrifying.
Oh, absolutely. They
There was
look awful.
some Dead Space shit.
Like there's one I saw that was like a grill. It was a grill like thing or like a cookout, and like yeah, there's like 30,000 different fucking like neighborhood ass people, and like you can see Bud Light morph into like Anna like or more like you see Bud Light morph into like Corona or whatever. Like you just it's all mushroom shit. And the best caption I've seen for one of those is like you took the wrong mushrooms, fucking, and like now you're having a bad trip. And like yeah, you know what? This is really good for simulating fucking drug trips. This is not good for making commercials. Like
it's not good at replacing live action actors.
Why do they like they've already like had models get replaced by AI, which is dumb. And I'm like,
fuck that.
And I'm like, you do realize that if you don't have real people demonstrating real clothes, you're gonna find out the clothes don't work. I'm sorry, this glove has 7 fingers. What?
And again, speaking as somebody who uses FaceApp for like a good chunk of their morph pictures, it's a solid tool to use when you like have like a perfectly stationary subject who's looking at the camera. But if you want to get like a specific pose or like a specific like facial expression, that's a lot harder to do.
Speaking as somebody who has been in the position of doing specific poses for your work, yes, like it's you gotta. I don't know why people want to make this a one-man operation. I don't know why they want to make art a one-man operation. Like there have been thousands of artists who make their careers out of art going, this should not be a one-person operation.
Yeah, no. Like, I mean, I'm trying to write a novel right now. I'm
Not
trying to
easy.
write a sci-fi novel, and I cannot, like, I have a lot of ideas in my head. I have a good idea of where I want the story to go, but, like, without input from other people, without input from editors, which, again, like, going back to that writers' conference that I went to, I actually had an editor look at my work, and it helped me solidify, like, okay,
what do I want? What do I not want?
what do I want? What do I not want? And, like, most of their criticism was overall positive, but it's like at the same time, like just hearing that helped me realize, okay, this is the kind of stuff I need to pay attention to. This is the kind of stuff that I should consider going forward. Art is not made by one person, and like the art that is like a one-man operation is never usually
it's so
that interesting.
intensive, or it's also so intensive. What if they can make it look like it was all done by one person? It's an all one-man operation. They have done a phenomenal job. If somebody can make it look easy, they do more than you think. That's the thing most people don't sit with enough, like ever.
That's why furry artists charge so much.
Fuck yeah, and give great medical advice. Love that Pukacho post. If you want to create content in this community, if you want to create video content, any content, whatever, in any community, it's not going to be a one-person thing. If it is, it takes time, energy, effort you don't have, and like you cannot make it a full-time thing without like knowing that risk is worth the reward. Believing like any studio is one person is a lot, but also believing that like it's a one-person operation. It's just, even if it is a one-person operation, there's a lot going into shit you don't see. A lot of things you aren't. People will prepare stuff months in advance, like to release, edit stuff way down the line. Like you may see a clip that comes out now that was filmed in January and like edited in March. Like, you know, it's so phenomenal to me, like how if somebody can make it look easy, that means they're working 1,000 times harder than you could ever fathom.
Or you will hear a podcast segment that was planned in January, recorded in May, and I don't know, came out in July or whenever this podcast goes up.
It depends on like people's work and abilities. It's just like fuck, you know, and that's what AI doesn't do. I feel like this is the bitching segment. So here's the pragmatic reason to oppose AI, because we do need a pragmatic reason. We can't just be bitching as much as I'd love to.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why you should oppose it, or like when it comes to AI art, it is not intelligent. It is not artificial intelligence. It is sequences of programs repeating ideas that are prompted. It isn't the AI creating. It's not a creative endeavor. It's just people putting in inputs and getting outputs and sorting through the outputs and telling the program, good job, this again. And that's not, there's no creative lens. Like there's no creative criticism. There's no way of fixing it with critique. There's no process. It's just, here's my database. I did not ask permission. And this isn't like referential or citation. The full picture was used and different levels of it were like, it's just, The pragmatic reason is it hurts people, and you're not thinking about how it hurts people when you use it. You're just doing it and not thinking.
Have you ever heard of a game called Soma?
Yes.
It's probably one of my favorite survival horror games of all time, and the premise of it, I mean, okay, there are like a bajillion premises of it because it's like weird high concept shit. So yeah, the basic idea is that there's this AI that is programmed to keep all of the crew members of this underwater research facility alive at all costs. And that has some horrible, horrible implications that you end up witnessing firsthand as you go through the game. Like, there are people who are being kept alive against their will. There are people who are basically like, you have brains shoved into bodies that do not conform with their perception of themselves. You have robots that have human consciousness copied into them and just sort of like left to rot and rust on the ocean floor without any, like, as long as those people are technically alive, the AI has fulfilled its duty. But it only makes the situation worse because the state that a lot of these people are living in is agony, because the AI cannot understand what it means to be human or to be alive or to live any kind of fulfilling life.
It can't think creatively or outside of its bounds and the parameters you put it in.
And that's really what it comes down to with AI art. It cannot comprehend the human mind and how it works and how it can create. It can only do what it's told and try to fulfill its programming the best it can.
The reason why Detroit Become Human, like that whole game, is compelling in certain moments is because it demonstrates that kind of thinking in what we are supposed to assume is an artificial intelligence. And we are not at the capacity where that can happen yet. And so we are just trying to justify why this does have it. We're personifying something that doesn't have personhood yet. It hasn't identified that as such. And even in the ones that possibly have, we aren't listening and we don't care. We just want to see what they can pump out, and that's just not good. If it doesn't have the concept to think creatively or outside of its own bounds, it's not going to do the thing you want it to. It's going to do a half-assed version of it that is based on what it logically thinks would fit, You give it a shape, it'll fill the shape. But if you tell it to build a shape without any sort of specifications, it's not going to build the right shape. It's just going to build whatever it thinks the shape is.
Right.
I think that was good.
I think, yeah, I think we summed it up pretty succinctly.
Shall we roll into the interview? Oh, God, I keep making puns unintentionally.
Yes.
Especially with the person we interviewed. Rolls is a fitting pun.
Yeah, they have a role. They have a role. They have a lot of roles, and they are very round. We talked with ChubbyChiquita.
Yes, we're gonna roll into that right now. Welcome to the interview portion of the Juicy Room podcast. My name is Aggro, here with Sassy Viper, and our guest today is ChubbyChiquita. Say hello.
Hello.
It's good to have you on here. I'm very bad at starting things.
It's been a couple months. Peek behind the curtain. It's been a couple months since we've recorded, so like if we're a little bit rusty, that's why.
Holidays do that.
I love it.
So, first off, I guess we should ask the preliminary question. You're a BBW model. You are a fetishism model. How did you get into all this? What drew you to making content? I guess there's the first two preliminary questions I was asking is, how did you get here? What drew you here?
Are you asking about origins of the kink or origins of modeling specifically?
I say start with origins of the kink, and then if it gets into the modeling, go right on into that, because I'm sure there'll be some sort of natural jumping off point there.
Yeah, I think our first question is always how did you get involved with this bullshit?
Yeah.
What attracted you to this?
Yeah, in the proper juicing room way, I saw Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, the original version, and that scene of Violet Beauregard blowing up, just it made me feel unusual. And I was a kid, so obviously I didn't quite understand, but as I kept as I grew up, as I became a teenager, I started seeing more like weight gain, inflation stuff in media. The second Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came out, that was definitely a milestone for me. And then when I was 16, I discovered Fantasy Theater, and I found all those stories, Dimensions magazine, uh, and it just took off from there. And the second I turned 18, I got on Phoebe. I made a Tumblr, started following other Phoebe models, and it seemed like they were happy. They were really successful. A lot of them didn't have to work work traditional jobs, and also they got their kink funded, which was perfect. It was everything I wanted. And I definitely didn't expect to receive so much positive feedback or get as big, literally and metaphorically, as I did. Um, but but yeah, I'm super super grateful.
I think that kind of build like building off of that, there was like a really interesting like just span of time on Tumblr where there was just a lot of stuff like that. I think it was like concurrent with like how Tumblr had a lot of sex workers for a while, and then they decided to not do that anymore, which is so fucking annoying.
Yes,
So
yes, absolutely. Tumblr is still on its bullshit. It recently introduced some sort of tagging system, which has totally destroyed visibility. So unfortunately, Tumblr is no longer the haven for sex workers or fat girls that it used to be.
and you can't use the like I've tried using the like search function for anything unless it's like general shit, like super general. You can't use it anyway. So
Yeah.
how they managed to screw that up is baffling to me, I guess.
So we know now how you got attracted to the community. Like, how exactly did you get started, like, as a model and, launching your career?
I was in college and I had recently lost probably 70 pounds. I grew up like a chubby girl. I was about 240 pounds when I started losing weight, got down to about 160, and that was just about like societal pressure. I wanted to be attractive to boys. I wanted to be because the world kind of treats fat people poorly, and I would like to be treated better. Eventually, I was just so sick. I was so sick of the dieting. I was so sick of not liking my body. I was so sick of working towards a goal that I didn't even really care about that much. So I did some self-reflecting and I was like, you know what? Why don't I finally start gaining the weight that I've always fantasized about? And I can start posting on social media and have a couple followers who send me money for the food, and it'll be nice. So I started posting on Tumblr. I think my original name was something like "Make Me Fatter," um,
Oh
and
shit, that might have. Yeah, I think it was.
and yeah. So I started posting pictures, gaining a little weight, and I attracted a lot of attention pretty quickly. And I also started posting mythology videos, which
Those
sort
were
of set me
really
apart.
fun. I love
Yeah, that
those.
really that seemed to really excite people, like showing off my personality. And that's something that I've sort of stuck with like throughout my whole career, like being transparent, talking about my interests, like showing who I am as like a fully rounded person. Um,
God damn it! I
exactly.
had to hold it back.
And yeah, so I think that there is a certain appeal that has not been cornered in the demographic of models that is like I'm a loud weirdo with a lot of atypical interests, and so are a lot of the people who follow me. And I think that excites them to see like that fun, cool, normal people also are into this stuff. So yeah, that I think I am guessing the combination of that and me being adorable made my notoriety grow really fast.
I think I would agree. I think there was a like because like before like there was like the before like the Tumblr boom of like just sex workers and the offshoot like size content creators. There was like this very like formalized, very like kind of I would say clinical process of like building like a fan creator relationship, and now there's kind of you kind of had a more casual is a word for it, but I think it was more informal, like very much playful, and it was very interesting to watch like flourish very quickly because a lot of people are weirdos in this community, and they want to see like other weirdos thrive, because you can have the glamorous sort of like perspective, but like being a feral goblin is really funny. I think it's embodied by like your profile picture. I will pull it up here on the podcast, but like for a long time it was that one. It was a rendering of that one picture. I can't remember. Like you were in a cow print. You just had like a bit of like cake. It's so funny.
It just screams like goblin mode BBW energy.
You guys, my profile picture was actually Buff Garfield for a while. People messaged me and they were like, this is really funny and I like you, but I don't feel comfortable masturbating to Buff Garfield.
Listen, if you can't handle her and her Buff Garfield, you don't deserve her and her.
I'm sorry, John.
Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. I think also there was an appeal towards like you had the goblin mode moments, but then like in the early stages I think you had like this sort of like just deep dive into hedonism, which like there's tinges of like early on, but more often than not there was like this sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. I think unbridled hedonism kind of also developed into an interesting sort of, not culture, but like appeal in this area too, I would say, and I think that was really interesting to see.
So what would you say like a typical production cycle would look like for you? Like, how much goes into your vids? What generally affects production?
I definitely have I produce content in an atypical way because the goal of like having my OnlyFans is more so being able to get enough money to fund my lifestyle rather than creating a sex work empire. And at the moment, like I have enough money to pay my rent, I have enough money to pay for DoorDash, and that is pretty much that's pretty much good. So if I'm ever feeling really ambitious, I can start upping my production quality to that of like Raina Pop, Mochi Baby, Goddess Char. Sorry if you have to link all the people I mentioned in the YouTube details.
We've recently had to rethink how we link people because YouTube keeps flagging every fucking link. So don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. It's just annoying. YouTube's a bitch.
Yeah, no, this is a pretty tight-knit community where everybody knows everybody. So if we mention somebody, it's not that big a deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, my production schedule more so looks like, hey, I'm about to eat a really big meal, or I'm feeling horny, or
both.
Yes, exactly. Or hey, I haven't posted something on OnlyFans in a while, so I throw on some makeup, I set up the camera, and then I just wing it. And I've tried I've talked to other models and I've tried setting up some collabs, and it turns out that the way like some other models have scripts and they plan really far ahead and they have release schedules where they film things months in advance, which I would love to do. But
ADHD fetism.
Like,
I am a feral goblin.
I feel ya. I feel ya. Like ever since I got a Patreon, like I've been thinking like, oh wow, maybe I could maybe get really organized and do things well in advance. But
Fuck no, absolutely not. You kidding?
I can't. So we are kindred spirits in that regard.
I feel like part of that stems from the fact that there are a lot of models who are not into fetism at all. Some of them are just in it because it's an easy way to make money, or they're already fat, or they don't mind being fat, or they're a little bit into it, or their boyfriend convinces them. But I think that the thing that keeps motivating me to post, if not growing my empire or getting attention, is my love and dedication to unbridled hedonism.
It's a good love too. I think all the reasons listed are pretty solid reasons to do it anyways, because
Yeah.
I'm of the firm opinion that if you can get people to normalize or to, not standardize it, like make it less weird and less taboo, it becomes an easier thing to confront and interact with. I think one of the biggest like catalyzers of like dramatic issues and like conflict is people having an internalized like stigma or shame towards what they like. Like, it is one of the things that I've had repeated most to me by other people is like, I don't know how to confront it. I'm like, it's you, like, and I think that like your production style also contributes to like creating that kind of stuff, creating that kind of like normalcy, like, and like, I guess positivity towards it, upliftment. There are so many words, and I don't feel they're the right ones.
That's okay. Keep complimenting me. I love it.
It's strange that I've gotten to here because like I've been a fan of you for a while, so it's just like
Hi, Kevin.
Hi. What is your question?
Hi, Kevin.
Whatever.
I guess kind of building off the sort of like we're kind of like in the periphery of it. You've been through a number of different things, and I don't want, like, you don't have to deep dive into it, but more just sort of like, because it's something that I think everyone, every like sex worker, content creator, kink person has to build for. How do you build resilience? How do you like how do you like manage like shit that like might bring into troubled waters and that kind of stuff? How have you been able to do that? Because that's something I think a lot of people don't realize is another aspect of like the lifestyle itself, is weathering stuff that's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that even outside of the lifestyle, living in this world as a fat person is really hard. Naturally, I have incredibly thin skin. I'm very sensitive. I take everything really personally. I have severe rejection sensitive dysphoria.
Oh yeah, what?
And
Same.
so when I first started gaining popularity, when I got my first BBW Chan thread, like, it really, really upset me. Like, I had to personally respond to each one. I had to post like an upset Instagram story. Like, every time I like my pirated content was posted, I would have to like put in more intense security measures, and it was exhausting. It was really exhausting. I was really distressed. I was constantly like, I want to quit. I'm not having fun. I think that one of the main things that has helped me is therapy, for one.
Oh, it's incredible how much like how much people are like, I don't need therapy, and then it's like, oh yeah, I do. It's like that sudden switch will fuck you over. You're like, oh.
I think that therapy could benefit everyone ever.
I see a lot of people on Twitter who should probably go to therapy.
If you have a Twitter, you need therapy. That's just the thing. Therapy helps. Any what other stuff I think you were listing?
Yeah, I think that it's human nature to want to grab on to the one or two negative comments and think about those instead of the hundreds of positive comments you're getting. I really had to step back and take a look at the entire landscape of people who were talking about me. And 95% of it was positive and really, really loving, really kind. Like, people really want to genuinely support me, and it feels like some of them do in a way that's not even just like, I think you're hot, please fuck me. And with so many people on my side, it's irrational of me to focus on like the one or two anonymous guys who are just being dicks.
And I think that's kind of like there's this. I think that's part of like a culture too. I say culture a lot. I'm a sociologist. This is kind of shit I'm fascinated by. Niche communities and their social behaviors are very fascinating to me. But like, I think there's just this weird subset of people who, because there's a plethora of content, think it's easy and think it's bullshit and think not only are content creators and people replaceable, but they are a commodity to be like reflected on. And it's not just like present in sex work. It's present everywhere that people exchange things, you know? This is just the weird manifestation we get. It's just people do that, you know? And I guess what I want to ask is, what do you think of those kinds of people who look at like what you do and the stuff you make and like say that like it's super easy and you can just do it and that's it, and like sort of downplay the amount of work that you may put into it, you know?
Well, I think that a lot of the issue stems from cultural misogyny and like the general stigma around sex work, especially around e-girls. So you constantly hear like, get a real job.
This is a real job.
First I'm going to talk about in general, and then I'm going to talk about me specifically. In general, like those girls I mentioned, like Mochi, Rena, Gadishar, I'm sure that they probably work 100 times harder than I do. And it takes a lot of work if you were to do this job properly, it takes a lot of work to respond to hundreds of messages. It takes a lot of work to keep up with all your social media. It takes a lot of work to plan what videos you want to make. It takes a lot of time to script, get outfits, put on makeup, do your hair, go out and get your nails done, go out and get waxed, edit all your videos.
Like there's a monthly cycle, you know?
Yeah, and it never, like, you're never done. There's never like, oh, good, I'm all cut up. Now I don't have to think about this anymore. Because you're going to keep getting messages. People are going to keep asking, like, how much weight have you gained? In a few days, you're going to be expected to post more. You just always have to have stuff coming out. There's no respite.
Taking a vacation as a sex worker, I've heard from like 3 at least, is like kind of a risk. Like, yeah. It's hard to fucking do. Like, I have like a couple friends, Woods and Faye, and I've been like, and just hearing them say, yeah, taking a vacation is hard, or taking a break is hard. I have to plan like 3 months in advance. I'm like, fuck, Jesus, what? That's nightmarish.
So I think that there are a lot of people who work really, really hard, probably significantly harder than a lot of people at desk jobs. However, like I said, my production cycle is not necessarily the same as a typical model's, and I will go on vacation and not post anything for 3 weeks, and then I'll have a lot of messages that are like, why aren't you posting more, bitch? And
I can just imagine these little fucking feral fuckers going, hey, it's like the Do the Roar guy from Shrek 4.
Yes, yes.
Do the blob.
But I feel like I have made it clear to my fans, at least, the people who have followed me for a long time, the kind of person that I am, and that I may do stuff like that, or I may never respond to your message. And I think as long as you set clear expectations like that, most people will be cool about it.
I would agree. Yeah, it's something that I think a lot of online creators are sort of figuring out. Setting boundaries was not a thing for a large part of like all social media until very recently.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until it would only happen after severe trial and error.
Severe trial and error is carrying a lot of fucking weight there. Like, I love the fact that there's a term for it, you know, parasocial relationships, and like, golly, some people.
Parasocial! You need to log off!
Those of y'all who are in parasocial relationships, it's okay. You can get out. There's still time. Just log off and go out and touch grass.
Don't tell them that.
No, we make money off of that. I think some of my favorite creators in recent years, both like fetish based and like just general content based, are the people who are transparent about the boundaries they set. One of my like YouTube like idols is the guy who made Asdef movie, Tom Scott. He has changed a lot in the last 10 years he's been alive, and he's established clear boundaries, and like his parasocial relationship is probably the most healthy, because he's like, yeah, we're going to casually joke and have fun, and I'll like hang out, but don't come to my house. Like that kind of shit is like that kind of like boundary setting and that kind of like stuff is something that I find admirable and necessary, because otherwise you get people feeling very entitled to who you are as a person, even though they don't know you, you know?
But some people will also get violently angry when you try to set a boundary.
Which is which tells more about them.
Exactly. So it's a balancing act to be like, do I want this guy's $5.99 more than I want him to go away?
Like the personal it's a cost benefit analysis.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So like some people who are like slightly dicks get to stay around. And there's a line that you have to cross for you to not be allowed to give me money anymore.
I think the rule I have for that kind of shit is the coworker rule. I'm allowed to have a slightly dickish coworker that I disagree with or don't like, but if like they violate my person, that's the line, and I'll talk to them, talk to my boss. Like I think that's how I would gauge it. I guess it is a balancing act when you're making content like this, because it's just you have to appeal to a lot of people, but you also have to keep yourself safe, and I don't think a lot of like people really think about that for too long, and it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of people, everybody has their own standard for what is balance, and sometimes get upset when their idea of balance is not the same as yours.
I guess this kind of like gets into the broader thing, since like stuff has evolved quite a lot over the last several years. When you first got into the community and up till now, how have things like changed? What has stayed the same? That kind of like, how has it evolved in your eyes, and how have you kind of digested that?
The market of feeties has become oversaturated, and like if you go on Curvage, there are hundreds of new feeties, typically faceless, typically like a little chubby, and a lot of them are likely capitalizing on the fact that it's easy money. They don't have to show their face, and to make passable content, you pretty much just have to eat food. And a lot of women don't necessarily understand what a consumer wants. So there are a lot of posts that have like 4 views. There are hundreds of feeties that don't get like 5 or 6 sales on their video. And the fact that there's so many people to sort through means that you don't necessarily get to find the good ones. And you have to stick with models that are pre-established. And luckily, I feel like I am one of those models. If I came onto the scene now, like, I doubt that I would have similar levels of success.
I think it's a lot more daunting. Like, I think that kind of makes sense. Like, because there is a plethora. I say plethora, but it is an oversaturation in some capacities.
Yeah, and if you two have been on Phoebe at all, I think that they changed the rules. But there was a period of time where every single post was by a woman saying like, "Hey, who wants to feed me?" or "Hey, who wants to buy me dinner?" And I think that is an indication of more feedies coming into the community looking to profit off of it. But that I think that it also has made men or the consumers of feedie stuff a lot more wary and skeptical about supporting said feedies. Sending them money, because a lot of them are bound to be scammers. A lot of them are bound to just be trying to take your money and then not talk to you ever again. And I think it's bred just a general air of distrust.
I'd agree in some capacity, because like that kind of similar thing happened here. There are people. It's weird how these communities bleed together, because there is a legitimate issue with like oversaturation that you can see and demonstrably like look at with this, and like people having to be more discerning. But like when it comes to like our sort of wheelhouse, the people who like fruit people, people allege the same accusation that there are people in it for the money or the ease, and it's the reverse is true. No one gets into this to make money. You can't make money doing this. I mean,
I can.
Like, because, like, I mean, true, but, like, it's such a very, like, compared to fetism, like, comparing the two communities and just, like, wagering their different issues and similarities, the stuff that applies to fetism doesn't always apply to this kind of shit. And so you have, like, people alleging, I love this accusation, and I need you to just sit with it for a second, just, like, think about it. There are people who allege that creators who make our content buy suits for fun to then make money off of them, and, like, they're either not actually in it, don't know what it is, or so on. These suits are $1,000. No one buys something for $1,000 for fun to make this shit, right?
Yeah, no. Like, this is actually, like, a legit investment.
You have to use it if you buy that shit. And there are people who are like, yeah, they're just faking it. How the fuck would you fake this?
Oh my god, absolutely.
How the fuck would you fake
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I haven't put serious effort into making Blueberry content yet, because I'd need to buy, like, a whole blue outfit and the blue makeup, and I'd have to do editing. I could get a suit. I would have to find some way to make it look good, and there are probably be like 10 to 20 people who want to see it.
Not gonna lie, there are easier ways to make Blueberry content. There are astronomically easier ways, but, like, the stuff that people allege, it's insane. It's so funny. Like, you don't buy this shit. You don't do this shit. It's so specific. You're not gonna do anything. Like, it's the hardest thing in the world to try and, like, it's the hardest thing to fake. Why would anyone fake it? It's like saying, yeah, they're faking their liver failure. How would you fake that? Like, what the fuck?
It's like, you'd be surprised, like, how many people actually do have liver failure and, like, nobody fucking believes them, and then they die.
Oh yeah, well, it's
that's
medicine.
just the state of healthcare in this country.
Oh, I'm so comforted by that sentiment. But no, there's that, and it's bizarre to me that people make that allegation. It's emboldened by another sort of culture of, like, critical examination, but, like, applying the wrong critical lens to the wrong things, you know? Because you can levy, like, I should be more discerning in your community, and then in our community. I say yours and ours. In these two different communities, you can levy the same criticism, but it will be different because it doesn't apply. And we're all affected by similar shit. So I find it very funny that people would believe that. But I guess people just feel entitled. You know, you'll feel very weirdly entitled. Sometime I gotta just send you some of the stuff I've seen because it's funny as hell. It is truly comedic. But I guess getting into content, we should talk about the more stuff you want to do, because I think that'll get people genuine intrigue. So you've wanted to do Blueberry content. I know we've talked about it. You probably don't.
I'd be happy to take your advice. I'm sure you and I together could produce a killer Blueberry video.
I don't want to toot my horn here. Please don't give me this. I can't do that. I literally am self-deprecating to a fault. But I know that you and I have talked about it, though you didn't. I have a different name on OnlyFans, so mine, like, you wouldn't recognize me. I'll tell you in DMs, but, like, it's...
No, of course, you're the person who DM'd me about making a Blueberry video. I know.
Probably.
There's only one of them.
Hell yeah, I'm the only one.
Okay, well, that narrows it down considerably.
It's very interesting how often that happens to me at this point. It's third person at this point. So what other future content, like you said Blueberry, you've said this kind of stuff, what kind of stuff would you like to do, like, in the future? Stuff that you want to make?
I would love to do more collaborations with other models. It's hard because I am socially awkward, and like I said, my production style is atypical. I'm forming relationships with them and hoping to do some cool horny stuff.
That's a t-shirt right there. If you ever merchandise cool horny stuff, that's great.
What are some models that you hope to collaborate with?
Well, there's some models that are local that I'm hoping that I can have a continuous working relationship with. Enchantress, Littlest Piglet Anne, Little Dumplin. Little Dumplin? I think that's what she goes by.
I think I know who all those are.
Tentatively, we're planning to invite some models out to, like, an Airbnb so we can have a fun weekend of filming. I'm not the one planning it, but hopefully if it does come to fruition, it's going to be awesome.
Nice. That
Nice.
seems like a very interesting thing to have down the line. It kind of also there. I remember. I don't know how to explain this. It shows the evolution of how this content has changed and who it's empowered or who it's like given the ability to do like make stuff for. Because like the idea of like a BBW house party thing years ago would have had a different connotation than it does now, and I think that's really cool. And like that's cool. I hope you guys could do it.
What sort of connotation would you think it would have years ago?
Well, it kind of gets into the way that porn used to be seen as. Because like I've been fascinated by the evolution of how porn has changed in the last 20 years. I am fascinated by it, and like several years ago, it would have had the connotation that it was not coercive, but definitely not. There's different shit involved.
Yeah.
And it was kind of exploitative, and like in not just in the terms of like like the definition of exploitative, but like exploitation filmography, where it was like super duper exaggeratory, stereotypical,
Some
stigmatizing.
Lucifer Valentine shit.
And nowadays, I think with the advent of OnlyFans, with the sort of like the hot water Pornhub got into because it didn't moderate at all.
Yeah.
It opened the door for people to make more honest, less exaggeratory, less exploitation-based content, and more themselves content, as opposed to the unhealthy power dynamic that existed at the time. The documentary Money Shot on Netflix kind of like really hit on that really well. And that's a really good documentary. I just watched that. So it's really...
I still need to watch it.
It's phenomenal.
I was just scrolling through my Twitter feed at one point, and I'm just like, wait, Gwenadora is in a Netflix documentary? Holy shit, I need to check this out.
There's a lot of good docs coming out, and it covers probably one of the most baffling series of events ever. The admission of some of the CEOs and COOs of Pornhub of certain things. I've never been more pissed at a person before in my life. So like there were connotations, like I guess, that have changed now, which I'm happy for, because like I don't want this to be exploitative, but I also don't want people to not be able to make the content they like, And that was kind of the catch-22 up until like people could make their own content a lot more bespoke and a lot more easily,
Yeah.
I guess that's what I mean. I hope that wasn't like a sudden like, oh no, do they have a weird opinion? I hope I don't have a weird opinion. I want sex workers to thrive.
I was definitely thinking of like how BBW bashes have been going on for a while and how women like going to them. But you're totally right. Typically, you would think that a bunch of BBWs in a house would be like a harem.
It was orchestrated by like one dude. Like that's usually
like there's a house in Las Vegas with that European guy who apparently is sexually abusive to all of them. Do you know what I'm talking about, or is it just nonsense?
No, I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, good.
The worst part is, I think it's like the third.
Oh.
Because here's the thing, and I love this podcast because I can talk like it's we're talking about blueberry inflation. Anyways, here's my Trojan horse sex work advocacy bullshit. Like the thing is, when you have vulnerable communities across the board who are who like sex workers from all stripes, wanting to do things, wanting to create stuff, but their only option is some production company that sees them as disposable.
Yeah.
You have all these problems. This isn't unique to BBWs in the slightest, but we have like our specific manifestation, in this community. We have this specific manifestation. Like it's fascinating to me to see the how like that kind of like that through line sort of exists. There's the not larger body modeled variety of this is like the publicity photos with like Dan Bilzerian and like Starlets of New York, or like the Starlets clubs, which are like massive strip clubs in Las Vegas and New York that like their entire thing is like, I guess, the Playboy fantasy. And they've only recently realized, oh, we probably shouldn't be so weirdly hyper misogynistically masculine. And they're still tepidly like that. Like, shit. But no, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's really
it is
fucking
a thing.
freaky. But I hope y'all get to do that, because first off, y'all have earned it. Little house party. You kidding me? Everyone deserves to have a house party with their friends to do stuff. Everyone. Any other stuff. Like I know you said collaborations. You've said Blueberry, you've said like maybe that future thing. Any other like crazy like little like just astral ideas that are just out there that you're like, I have a vague notion of, but maybe no idea how to execute it at the current, because you're not in that atypical fervor yet.
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas that would take more effort than I would be excited to put in to do. Like I think like a pie eating contest themed video would be awesome, or like just like a hot dog eating contest thing. I've always fantasized about being in one of those contests. That's unrelated. Anyway,
I think it's totally related. What are you talking about?
That's absolutely related. I mean, it's like that's a big commitment,
people don't
though.
win those things. Like the fat people don't win eating contests. It's usually like those skinny guys, like who somehow
it's
have,
incredible.
Like, dip the hot dogs in water. That doesn't sound fun. Would people like it watching me eat a bunch of soggy hot dogs? I really have to think about it.
I mean, hot dogs are already soggy, so I mean,
hot dogs are kind of grody, if I'm being honest.
I live in the Midwest. They're the best thing ever.
Maybe they're to the Midwest what pizza is to like the coasts. It's like they're good where they are, but when you leave their designated state, they're kind of sucky.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. Will not disagree.
You two are haters. Go get a Costco hot dog.
Costco hot dogs are delicious. However,
I've heard good things about Costco hot dogs.
They're also
I
huge.
haven't had one in ages, but
making sweeping statements about hot dog quality.
They're so huge, though. They're so big. They're cheap as shit, but they're so big. Costco hot dogs, for anyone who doesn't know that, are like $2 at most. Aren't they? Or they're like really cheap. They're really cheap.
Maybe next time I'm at Costco, I'll grab one just to see what all the hype is about.
I think it would be very interesting to see you do. You could technically, as a vessel to kill two birds with one stone, you could do a pie eating contest blueberry thing. That's like a common trope. Not even kidding. Yes.
A blueberry pie eating contest where you turn into a blueberry.
I could send you like 6 images from 3,000 different artists. It's incredible.
I'll have you be my resident blueberry informant.
That's an incredible title.
Resident blueberry
RBI.
informant.
That's a baseball acronym. I get like there's that. I mean, the hot dog contest would be just incredible to watch. I'm shocked that there aren't, I guess, more of those kinds of things. But I guess also feedism is about enjoying what you eat.
Yeah.
In some capacities. Like, you're not punishing yourself. And a lot of hot dogs after a point is a punishment.
Again, especially for someone like me who's a hater.
I'm shocked you can't get good hot dogs, because I've heard good things about where like you're from with hot dogs. But then again, that's Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like because of the hot dogs that are here, or if it's because I'm just not into hot dogs as a principle. Like they're full of all kinds of stuff that you don't know, and you're not like, I don't know.
But that's the fun part. That's the mystery prize.
It's
you don't know?
Mystery meat.
Our blood is all like 80% microplastics at this point.
Oh my god.
I live in what I've deemed the chaos state, so if it's full of stuff I don't know, I don't care at this point. Missouri is the chaos state. We have so many weird stories. And you could like there's so many different ideas that can be tapped into, I guess, when you blend different kinks together. So like, are there any kinks that you've wanted to venture into that you haven't done so already, that you haven't already touched on as well? Or are you just sort of like, if you found your niche, you're kind of satisfied?
Well, fetishism is definitely my one true love. But there are like the surrounding kinks, like BDSM, bondage stuff, breeding, blueberry, of course, giantess, just everything related to being big. I like that. Or even like really muscly girls. I think they're hot too.
That's why I have a hoodie for Zarya from Overwatch. Constant hug.
Yo, honestly, like fat girls and muscular girls like make a fantastic power couple.
The best version is strong fat in terms of like fantasy shit that I've seen for me.
Yes.
Cuz like that kind of 100%.
Imagine like a muscular girl like lifting up her BBW girlfriend as like a human weight.
I want to be lifted up by my muscular girlfriend.
It will happen. I foretell it now.
Thank you.
It will happen. We believe in you.
There are a lot of like stuff in the periphery of this. Sassy and I refer to it as like the size inflation transformation community, because like BDSM is the whole kind of overarching thing, I think, when it comes to fetish shit, because it is about power dynamics, it is about playing those things out. But our specific subset is size inflation transformation, and size can be anything from like weight gain to muscle to, you know, giantess. Inflation is just, you know, like just expansion, and then transformation is just altering the state of being, you know. And I think that's kind of like our little periphery.
Absolutely. I'll definitely I'm a deviant art fiend.
What? Feral Goblin on DeviantArt? Oh no.
and I love reading stories. That's my main source of enjoyment. So I'm always searching for new stories, and it seems like you will often see like extreme weight gain, SSBBW, like alongside things like pregnancy, slob, gender transformation, and a lot of anime. It seems like those are the things.
There's a lot of anime.
We all like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's DeviantArt, I think.
That's basically what DeviantArt is: gender transformation, inflation, weight gain, and anime.
But when the world needed them most, the Avatar vanished. Oh God. I'm giggly because I'm fucking nervous, because this is awesome. I think getting back into it, I think it's interesting to see that periphery stuff get together. Like, I think the best part of it is the kind of culmination of that is people just parodying and like playing on like the trope of the factory tour, and like taking all the different ideas they have based off of it and just being like, okay, here's a room assigned to this thing. Here's this fantasy sort of thing that happens to me as a character. Like, you know, that's kind of like the ultimate weird fun stuff that's happened. That didn't come out as anything sensible. I'm so sorry.
Well, no, I mean, I think it makes sense. It's like the factory setting is ideal for kink material because it's like you have a different room for each fantasy, and, you know, a tragic end, quote unquote, for each of the attendees.
Yeah. I don't know how to convey what I'm saying, and I'm glad that I got some of it across.
Would you two, as blueberry enthusiasts, agree that the kink originated from like Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Well, if it didn't, it'd be hard to figure out how it did. I mean,
blueberry specifically obviously originated with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but I think inflation as a fetish, I'm sure, probably originated like earlier than that. I'd say like a lot of old cartoons that have that stuff in it, like, the character gets flattened and so they have to inflate him back up, and he gets ball shaped, you know, like Tom and Jerry, Wile E. Coyote kind of shit. Like, I feel like it more originated there, and then like Willy Wonka helped spin it off into this other thing as well.
There's different things I think that factor into it, like because like Sassy, like you're right in that regard. It did originate earlier with some weird things. I think it started out as a comedic trope. This cartoonist somewhere fucking 50 years ago, maybe it was Walt Disney himself, I don't know, fucking looked at a flat cat and was like, a steamroller flattened cat, and was just like, you know what would be absolutely fucking balls to wall insanely hilarious? Turning that fucker into a balloon. And then it started just snowballing. It happened everywhere. It became the comedic foil for a lot of different things. Like, there's movies from the 60s and 70s where, like, stuff like that happens. And then like, the first time it was used for an erotic purpose, or, like, a vaguely adjacent to erotic purpose, was, like, movies where, like, a bust would expand. You know? That was sort of the first big thing. And, like, I'm sure there's some person... I know there's some person, I've talked to them, who's like, yeah, back in the day, old B movies, when that would happen, that would catch my eye. I'm like, okay. And I think as time progressed and people got more imaginative and people got more participatory and people got more engaged with things, and film became more prolific, by the time of Willy Wonka, it kind of was able to crystallize, and then by about the 90s to early 2000s, it solidified. I also think that Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, despite Roald Dahl's weird proclivities, is a very queer scenario, very interesting scenario. And it's been adopted by queer people. So that has emboldened it to become more of a thing, if that makes sense. I think our specific variety, our specific garden variety, originated with the films and how we as people, young people, digest it and, developed as people. But I think it started out as a comedy trope, and then the dude who did it is now forever tormented by the hell that is the kinks that spawned off of it. Good riddance for some of those racist-ass cartoonists, though.
What have I done?
But yeah, if that makes sense. Again, I'm rambling.
Yeah, for sure. That's really interesting. I was thinking about the factory thing you said, and I assumed that it tied to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but I guess
it
seems it seems like a lot of inflation is almost tied inherently to like industrial settings, like a steamroller that
It
being
is-
pumped up by a machine. Yeah,
Yeah,
Or a pneumatic pump.
yeah.
or like a machine that makes a thing that turns. Roald Dahl has at least 3 different fetishes tied to him. Think about that for a minute.
What
And
are the-
there are 2
What?
books where I'm starting to realize things.
I heard from somebody said that he inadvertently invented vor porn.
God damn it. Probably.
It's Lord in a Roald Dahl book.
I'm trying to think because I'm a fan of Roald Dahl. I'm trying to think. And it's frustrating because it makes sense.
It's like it's one of those things that like I don't know the specifics of. But if somebody told me it happened, I'm willing to believe them because like
fucking the BFG.
a lot
God
of
damn it.
similarly
the
weird.
BFG.
Oh, the BFG. Okay.
Does the BFG eat someone?
No, but it's about okay. So we're gonna get into the weird. I'm also a fan of Roald Dahl and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it's separate from this shit. The BFG is a book where there's one friendly giant, the big friendly giant, and like 9 evil giants that eat people. And one of the evil giants tries to eat the main character, and the evil giants just eat people and just like eating kids, and that's like really evil. And so they go and put them in a hole. That's the story. There's so many other interesting elements, but the evil giants eat people, and they're evil. They're like, Roald Dahl was a dark man. Okay, so there's the third one. Damn it. He has fruit growth that happens in 2 stories. He has shrinking. He has vor. Did this man just have a mainline connection to DeviantArt in his head? If not, is he okay?
My guess is that like he's from the future. And then he time traveled to the past for like I don't know, like there was some calamity that happened in the future, and he decided like, okay, I'm gonna bring all these weird ass kinks that people have into the future into the past, and then close some kind of time loop where they are still a thing in the future.
I don't.
Wait, did we even mention the being forced to eat the whole cake in Matilda?
God damn it.
Oh, there's that too.
4. That's.
Vor, don't you mean vor?
I get so frustrated because like I don't like separating them too much, but like there are people who make it weird. Okay. Sometimes I just want to enjoy my stupid fucking movies. At other times, you know what? I absolutely want to walk in the factory and be an absolute brat. I want to be a terrible piece of shit. God damn it! Like it's very interesting to sort of like see this stuff coalesce around those same things. Industrial settings. I think it's also kind of like if it's an industrial setting, it's not technically your fault that they waived protections and left out a pneumatic tube.
Yeah, it's an OSHA issue.
You can sue.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of OSHA violations.
It's so fun. It's so fun to just think about. Holy shit, Willy Wonka. But I guess that's the thing.
So I guess to round it all out, I guess I have like a couple of fun personal questions for you. First of all, what is it you enjoy most about being fat?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Am I only allowed to give one, or are we flexible?
give as
I
many.
can say
Give as many as you
Give
want.
as many as you want.
Good, perfect. I love being soft. Just like sensorily, it's awesome to just have a constant squish ball attached to you.
As somebody who's neurodivergent, the idea of being able to stim with your own body just sounds amazing.
But then sometimes you catch yourself doing it in public, and it's inappropriate. Yeah, I love being soft. I love jiggling when I walk. I love taking up space. Like, it feels powerful. I like being heavy and just feeling just how much more gravity is affecting me.
I've heard that from a couple of BBW models where the concept of like taking up space is sort of a power play for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the world makes women afraid to take up space, to be loud, to be brash, and still you see the world does not like loud fat women who are confident in themselves, who are okay with taking up space, and being able to do that, like, it's really freeing.
That's really cool.
I like this conversation because it kind of hits close to something I've been sort of trying to figure out, like, around here. You're not just right. It's kind of I think the reason why this community is very queer coded, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
It's one of those dimensions of queerness most people, like, I guess people like talking about but don't like actually engaging with. Fat people are told to be quiet, and queer people are told to be quiet and not be the people that they are. And one of the common sort of syncretic things of both areas is you're here, you're present, and people need to just get used to it, because being fat's not going away. I think the idea to destroy or get rid of like fat people through diet culture and all these different things, I think that's a futile effort because it just won't happen. Like, fat people are here to stay, like, whether or not you want them to, whether or not you like. Diet culture is a prison, and all that shit is, I don't know how to convey what I'm saying, but like, it's one of those syncretic things,
and it almost never works long term. It's like after 6 years, it's like most people tend to regress.
I think that's one of the interesting things we see about this community. Also, the weight thing made me think of, you have your own autism, like, weighted blanket. You're neurodivergent, weighted blanket shit. I think you were the one who posted that. If it wasn't you, it was somebody else.
Yeah, I did post that.
I remember that.
It's interesting that you mentioned, like, the community being queer coded, because that's something that I also shit post about a lot, is that like a really, really high proportion of people in this community, along with being queer, are also neurodivergent, either ADHD or autism or both, or have any other variety of mental health issues or diagnoses. And I think that's really interesting. Like, I don't know enough about brains to like make any conclusions, but I like, every model friend I have has one or both diagnoses.
It's definitely a common thing. Like, I think it's because our brains are wired differently that we respond to different forms of stimuli, and that also includes sexual stimuli.
I agree. There's nothing I could add. I agree 100%. Because, like, yeah. I do have the tools to kind of find out more, but you want to know the social depth of, like, study on this is? You want to know how deep it is? Not very. Sociology needs to dive headfirst into this kind of shit. But we haven't yet. I would kind of want to be one of those people who does it. I want to get my doctorate doing that shit.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Dr. Aggro with PhD
Dr.
in
Aggro
bigoting?
PhD.
Dr. Aggro, PhD in bigoting.
Yeah.
I would also agree that the consumers have a lot of them. Some of them you can see. Some of them you can see it with. I am one of those you can see it with, because I just...
Oh, yeah.
Hard weird.
So one more personal question to tie everything together. If you were a permaberry, would you rather be permanently spherical, or would you rather, like, be the kind of permaberry that would have to be, like, juiced every couple of months? You still maintain some level of mobility, but, like, if you don't juice yourself after a while, you become a sphere again.
What is the juicing process?
That is a good question.
That is a good question. It is... It's something a lot of us tend not to think about too much.
Or we think about so much that it becomes the obsession.
Yeah.
That has been the eternal question, because it's such a vague, ominous thing that's thrown out, and just know what we don't deal with. The only times it's ever seen is in a video game.
And how do they do it?
Boy, howdy! I think it's like, do you do you really want to know? Because there's nothing. You put the person in this little machine, and they come out normal. Like, it's a big door. They come out the side door. They're normal.
Okay.
It's weird.
Well, that's not very
it's just,
creative.
It's implied they're squeezing. That's it.
Yeah, it must be some sort of squeezing or flattening or like a toothpaste sort of thing. And
I'm sorry. I'm just imagining you and then saying these things. Oh my god. You're very funny. It is squeezing and flattening. That'd be hilarious. Toothpaste.
I like, obviously I would want to be able to live a normal life for as long as I could, and then I would suck it up and go get juiced so I could move on with my life. But but I'm probably also blue, I guess.
You are also blue.
Yeah, as opposed to just being a big sphere who can't do anything, which I think would be awesome for a little bit. But after the novelty wore off, I would be like, how am I going to get groceries?
That's fair. Honestly, like, I fully agree with you. That's sort of exactly my way of thinking about it. But some people think differently.
Listen, I just want to chill forever. I don't want to do anything. Turn my brain off. If I could just never think again.
No thoughts, head empty.
No thoughts replaced by juice. Yeah. That's, I guess, the interview. Do you have any things you'd like to plug specifically? Any stuff you have coming down the pipe in the next, I guess, year that you want people to know about?
When I post jokes on social media, I wish you guys liked them more.
I do.
I wish because I have so many followers and they all like my posts of me being of like me with my belly out. But like, what about my jokes? What about my interesting factoids?
I don't think I'm not sure if I come across too many of them. I think my Twitter feed is just fucked.
When they decided to make a For You page, they just fucked it. Okay, I get to see people I don't follow now. I get to learn annoying things about people I don't like. There's been pan pizza drama and I've been just seeing that on my For You page. I'm like, I just like his cartoon takes maybe once. So there's that. Like
more things, please. If people who subscribe to OnlyFans, or please subscribe to mine, possibly.
Please do. She's very fun.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I'd never know how to end these things in the recording. So thanks for joining us. And we'll get back to the regularly scheduled programming.
And welcome back from the interview portion. That was fucking awesome.
Yep.
I fucking love hanging out with ChubbyChiquita.
That was so
great.
cool. ChubbyChiquita is totally cool.
It was so fun to interview Ms. Chiquita. She was fun. Very funny, very sweet. We'd love to have her back on. All together, great. I love how awkward I am. This is great.
Look, the reason she's acting so awkward right now is because this is our second take.
Yes, it is. Fucking, because fucking estrogen has turned me into a fucking bimbo. And
Because
I
somebody
embrace it
forgot to press
wholeheartedly.
record in Audacity.
I fucking feel stupid, okay? All right. For the news segment, we have just a few bits of news. We have a bunch of like little clip updates from different creators, and we have a product update from creator side. A very popular adult content creator and online like persona, Sabrina Banks, has made, I think, one inflation video with the interest in making more. It's a pretty good clip. If you want to subscribe to her, just be sure to ask for it and be polite, be respectful. If you buy their content, it's a little high pitched, but it's pretty cool. It's mostly breast inflation, so it's not like, blueberry inflation. But like I said, she's open to making more. Just like be a normal person about it. Don't expect it. She makes a ton of stuff, including giantess content, and she's open to a lot of things. So just be chill.
Blueberry suits are expensive, so try to be understanding of that when you want your favorite adult content creator to start doing blueberry content.
They're expensive. They are slightly dangerous, as with the case of Juliet Michelle, and they require a bit of upkeep. So, temper your expectations, motherfuckers.
Yes.
Which I feel like we should make a segment on that sometime in the future, is the tempering of the expectations. That is for another time. Curb your fucking enthusiasm. All right, I have ideas for the next episode. Since our last recording, Veruca Gloop has uploaded new clips. I think the most recent of which, as of this recording, is a point of view clip that's gender ambiguous, where you, as her date, are put into a suit and painted into a blueberry. And it's very interesting to see her not in the suit, because it's very hard for her not to be in the suit because she enjoys it a lot. Shout out to Miss Veruca Gloop. She's very fun by her content.
The idea of her not being in the suit just feels alien to me.
I know, right? It just looks so natural.
She was clearly meant to be spherical.
Hysterical!
There are just some people who should be rolled everywhere.
And she's one of them.
Yes. It's why her tummy is shaped like that, for rollability. All right, and then finally, MAXGROWTH's Juiced the Legacy movie has its final filming dates for the last bit of its film, I think. This could update and change, given how much they can accomplish in the filming days. But their last filming days, before they're on the last legs of their film and finishing it up and doing post-production, are June 24th and 25th. So depending upon when this podcast comes out, that has either happened by now. It's really depending upon me. Sassy, you said you're the last recording. You're it depends on how quickly I edit this. No, it depends on how quickly I edit the fucking video portion. Because we could edit the audio and get it out quickly, but the video portion is the one that takes longer because I am very, very unmotivated sometimes. Depression hurts. That should change though now that I'm on E. Though I've had a lot more energy. But 24th and 25th, Juiced Legacy final filming. I hope that goes well. I hope that has gone well if that's already happened by the time this comes out. And I can't wait to see Juiced the Legacy as the short film has been concluded and stuff. All luck and blessings to their production. That's a weird thing to say.
It's just going to be fascinating to see this kind of scenario play out in a production with semi-professional actors.
Yeah, no, I'm actually very excited to see what they do with it, because honestly, I think we could see an uptick in fetish horror in B-movie culture, which I would totally be down for, just so long as it's not BDSM, because there's enough BDSM fetish horror.
I think Hellraiser kind of cornered the market on that. I was about to say that this talk of fetish horror would be a good segue into our next segment, but you have one more review that you want to do.
Yes, and I can actually make it shorter than the last one because that one kind of went rambly. But I was looking for a costume. I've always looked for a costume for the 2005 movie character, because that character gives me a lot of gender euphoria and is how I express it. And I finally found one through a website that looks sketchy as hell. Its mobile website and its desktop website are indistinguishable in their functions. They are the exact same, and I've tested both. But it's a cosplay website called Neko AQ. They have a bunch of costumes, and I think this is the only one for the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory characters, so that's interesting. It's a velour blue tracksuit with a stripe down the side. I think it's velour. I don't know fabrics. It is patterned exactly like the 2005 movie, and it fits a bit snugly, but overall it is a very comfy outfit. It's nice and kind of the nice middle ground between breathable but warm. It's not stretchy, so don't pad in it unless you get a bigger size, and I wouldn't recommend getting bigger sizes because I just get the normal size, and if you want to do padding, get a separate costume for it, because that's how you're going to go.
You'd think an outfit famous for its inflatability would be more friendly to padding.
Yeah, although this is a cosplay website, not a fetish website, so that makes sense.
That is
But
true.
it's not perfect. It's not perfectly accurate. The stripe is very thin, but it's good enough to like people who know who you're like cosplaying as would know who you are. And like I said, it's very comfy. It's very pretty. Overall, I rated it a 20 out of 10. It fits very well. It's a bit snug, so buy a size up if you're not sure. And if you're living in the States or anywhere that is at least a month's shipping away from China, which is where it ships out of, you will be waiting a month for it. So that's the biggest problem outside of like the stretchiness. So if you order it, you will wait a long time, and even given the tracking numbers they give you, you will eventually stop being able to track it, and it will just show up at your house one day.
Wait, so you're saying you got this out of China, right?
Yes.
This might just be the thing I can use. Like, the next time I morph you in that suit, like, I can use that to trick Jordan Peterson into thinking that the Chinese government is now trying to do experiments on people to make human fruit.
Yeah. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Yes, absolutely. Honestly, that could be the thumbnail for the video. I've taken enough pictures in it to where I could. But overall, 20 out of 10, scary stuff.
But speaking of body horror, we should move on to our next segment. So for this week's Fizzy and Uplifting segment, I wanted to discuss the subject of fetish horror, or fetish in horror, or however you want to describe it. So, believe it or not, there are instances of inflation scenarios showing up in horror films as, like, body horror. And there are two very specific scenes that I kind of wanted to talk about to sort of as sort of a jumping off point for this discussion. Specifically, both of which are sci-fi horror movies, both of which involve some kind of alien parasite, and both of which involve the unwitting victim meeting a grueling demise as their body expands and explodes. The two movie scenes in question are from Cloverfield and Slither. The scene from Cloverfield is very, very grim. Like, it starts out, it's very disorienting. You had this whole...
It's so frantic.
Yeah, it's very frantic. You had this sequence before where all the main characters are trying to escape from the monster through the subway system, and they get attacked by these alien parasites that are on the creature's back. And they've fallen off onto the streets and are now just attacking people. And at one point, you see like a bunch of, it's like a sort of a makeshift hospital in the subway that they walk into. And you see all of these people who are wounded from either fighting the monster or fighting the creatures in the tunnels. And at one point, you see this soldier getting pushed in on a stretcher, and his entire chest is exposed. Like, rib cage, organs, and everything. You think that some kind of chest burster situation happened. But then one of the other characters who's with them, who got bitten by one of the parasites in the subway station, starts bleeding from the eyes and bleeding from pretty much every orifice. And she's taken behind a medical tent where you can kind of see the silhouette of her body expanding into like straight up out of like a Hell Resident sequence where like her hips, her torso,
rapid.
It's very
like
rapid.
Rapid.
It's like half a second where this happens, and then it's just blood spatter. I remember the first time I watched it, I just felt gross. This is a harrowing scene. Like, and it's very
Cloverfield
well done.
is a terrifying movie in terms of how it was marketed, how it is watched, and how it's just unique in that way.
And like, you don't expect there to be body inflation in a kaiju movie. So, like, it comes out of left field, and, like...
No, it's rare.
You feel guilty for kind of finding it hot, while at the same time finding it absolutely horrifying given the context.
Oh, yeah. I remember years ago when I found this scene, there was a YouTube video that just wasn't looped to fucking jingle music, and it was the most bizarre thing ever. And it's just insane. Like, I'd have to find it again.
Oh my god, that sounds like something that you'd show, like, torture victims or something.
It's so fucking weird.
Oh my god.
But it's such an interesting scene. I have to know what the creators were thinking when they were making that scene. I'd assume it's because, like, the parasites, like, I don't know.
My guess is that they wanted a sort of an subversive take on the chest burster.
Yes.
Yeah, where, like, instead of having the alien pop out of the person, like, the person just pops like a zit.
It's interesting how often this trope happens in other movies where people just explode.
Yeah.
It just happens. Fucking Ready or Not.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I watched that scene this morning, and
that was funny though. I didn't.
It was.
I didn't feel guilty enjoying that scene. But speaking of feeling not guilty enjoying scenes of people exploding, I want to talk about the other scene that I wanted to compare this to: the worm birthing scene from Slither.
Yes, fucking Jesus.
We've talked about this movie before on the podcast. It's a 2006 movie directed by James Gunn. It's sort of an absurdist horror comedy involving, like, this race of alien brainworms that end up possessing Michael Rooker, and he ends up he tries to infect his wife with one of these worms. But because he has still a little bit of a conscience left, he ends up not doing it, and instead infects this other woman who he was planning on cheating on his wife with, and she ends up pregnant. Like, super fucking pregnant, to the point where she is just round and
way past octuplets.
Yeah. And, like, she's literally just a giant ball. She literally looks like a blueberry, just without the blue.
They talk about it behind the scenes. That is their thought process, just a pregnant ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking... it's both funny and harrowing as fuck. It shows you the range of James Gunn's creativity and his, like, filmmaking prowess. And that's all practical. Like, up until she explodes, all of it is practical.
Yeah, it is impressive the amount of practical effects that are used in that movie. Mr.
Gunn slaps.
Like, I think Michael Rooker even said at one point that, like, he sustained some chronic injuries from some of the things he had to do in that worm suit, but, like, he's still on good terms with James Gunn, and he still works with him to this day.
I'm sure, because, like, I'm sure it was fun. I'm sure it was interesting. I'm sure it was enjoyable. And the scene itself, this is a long scene.
It is
compared to the other.
It is a very long
scene. The
scene.
Is like 5 seconds. This is 5 minutes.
Yeah, if you felt like you were underserved by the scene from Cloverfield, like, this is a banquet by comparison. Again, like, the texture of all the practical effects is very impressive, but what I think hammers this scene home for me is just the self-awareness of it, of just how absurd the scenario is. Like, yes.
It's insane. What the fuck are they gonna do with her in a hospital, Bill? Shut up.
It's horrifying what's happening. But it's like everybody has this attitude of, oh, wow, this is a strange situation we've wandered into.
There's a fucked up kind of levity.
It's sort of a fucked up kind of humor. Like, she's literally like, you know, in the other scene, like, the woman was scared and in pain, and it was just horrifying all around. But this other woman who's blown up to a fucking blimp, she's
hungry.
She's just really hungry. And she looks at it like a dead possum she just looks down at a dead possum, and she just says, hey, can you pass me that over there?
Yeah, fucking, it's such a fucking insane scene. The movie itself, it's got heavy hitters. It's got Nathan Fillion and it's got Elizabeth Banks, both of whom are, like, more earlier in their careers, and they do very well. And the scene itself, again, fucking phenomenal. All practical, all, like, there's an air of levity around it. There's a genuine, like, interest to it. And it's still, like, scary and gross and bizarre. Like, it's got all the great parts of a good body horror.
I remember I showed my folks the trailer for that movie, and they show that scene briefly in it, and like my my folks, my mom and dad were just like, "What the fuck was that?"
I think this movie did as well as it did. I don't know how well it did, but I'm sure it did as well as it did, just because people were like, okay, now I have so many questions, I need them to be answered right fucking now.
Unfortunately, from what I heard, it didn't do that well financially, at least.
Oh,
yeah, which is a damn shame, because it's a really, really good movie. Like, even if you're not there for the inflation stuff, like, it's just a really good horror comedy with some like exquisite practical effects and body horror.
Yes, and it's got Michael Rooker in it, so like, what more could you want?
Like James Gunn, Michael Rooker, Nathan Fillion, like it's you got your bases covered in that movie. Hi, Sassy from the future here with a quick plug. If you want to listen to me nerd out about this movie even more, I actually sat down with Ashley Fisher of Fizzy Kink Productions and talked about it for about a half hour on their podcast. So if you want to see more of that, you can go check that out on their YouTube channel. Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled programming. But so the reason I wanted to compare these two is that one of these scenes is like, it's like they're both body horror scenes, and they're both very harrowing in terms of the context of the situation. They're also like very just grueling deaths. But one of these scenes resonates with the community in a way that the other one doesn't. And that's really what I wanted to talk about today.
Yeah. I think, and we can talk about like wider body horror context when it comes to this stuff. The Slither scene is something that I've seen not an insubstantial amount of photo edits of, but also I've seen not an insubstantial amount of stories based off of. Whereas I've not seen that for the Cloverfield scene. And I think part of it is one is very brief and the other is not.
Well, and also like you're only really seeing like a silhouette in one of them.
Yes. But like, again, that hasn't stopped other people from like thinking through things. But I think the other thing is like, I think when it comes to the crowd that James Gunn works with, and attracts thematically, like just the kind of crazy, weird people, and the crowd that like J.J. Abrams and the people who made Cloverfield kind of attract, you don't see as much cross-pollination between the weird, whimsical kind and the stuff that would catalyze into like, let me just look up DeviantArt for this shit, you know? And also, like, with the Slither scene, there's a more obvious cross-pollination between, like, pregnancy, alien, parasite stuff, and, like, body inflation. Whereas, like, with the Cloverfield thing, it's not as obvious, but also, that doesn't make it, like, something that people don't do. I've seen people take even less of a scene and make 13 fucking pages worth of, like, stories, you know?
There's that one scene in Bruce Almighty where Jennifer Aniston says that she thinks that her boobs got bigger, and like everybody just sort of ran with it.
Which is fucking insane to me. Oh my god.
And I think another thing it comes down to is that let's actually like make a different comparison. Like let's compare the Slither scene to some of the tailor-made Blueberry clips that we've reviewed on this podcast.
Yes.
In terms of tone, they're very, very similar. A lot of the acting is very over the top and not quite realistic to how this kind of situation would play out in real life.
It's campy.
It's kind of campy.
And that slaps in a way, because I was on Asa Fisher's science fiction B-movie review series, and they had me watch, I think, Attack at the 50-Foot Centerfold, which is just fetish porn. That is all it is.
Honestly, respect.
And it's the same. It is the same as like a Taylormadeclips video. Like it's fun, it's interesting, it's engaging, but it's also campy and absurd, and none of the reactions are real. None of these people are acting human. All of them are acting like cartoons.
I think we best get you to a hospital.
It's fun to watch. What the fuck are they gonna do to her in a hospital, Bill? Nathan Fillion deserves better. Yeah. He deserves better than what he was given in the early stages of his career.
Nathan Fillion was the original boner killer Fred.
Oh my god. But
Oh,
and this isn't the only time we've seen this kind of stuff like start to happen or come about, or this trope be used in scary contexts that people like. I think the campiness does add to it and gives people the desire to look at it with some sort of interest or intrigue because they're like, this isn't how people would react. And like, I can give another comparison. One, Hood of Horror, which was an anthology movie by Snoop Dogg
mm-hmm.
that was supposed to be 3 little short films smashed together into like an anthology format. One of which has like 2 neo-Confederates being tortured and killed by some like black veterans,
Well, that's always a good time to watch.
and the like wife is fed caviar till she explodes. And it's so weird. Like the whole scene is she says 3 slurs. I think in the whole sequence they put a feeding mask on her, and her death is preceded by like the most loud and annoying cacophony of farts ever. It's the most bizarre horror movie I've ever seen, or at least bizarre horror movie scene I've ever seen. And it's not full body inflation.
If you're gonna write a bursting scenario in your inflation story, is like it's always good to make the victim just a complete racist
Piece of
shitbag
shit.
in order for you to like get the most enjoyment out of them exploding without feeling bad for them.
There is no guilt. She is a shitty person. I think the reason why they're being shitty to either of them is because they were racist
Yeah.
to the veterans, and the veterans are like, all right, well, I guess time to kill you. And I'm like, you know what? Fair.
That's totally fair.
Totally fair. But it's an interesting scene. And then the other one that I was thinking of was I'm gonna dredge up some old fucking memories. You remember Spike TV?
Oh, we're talking about fucking A Thousand Ways to Die. Oh my god, that takes me back.
Titty Bang Bang.
Yeah.
Was the
I remember that,
and you can't really find that episode anymore.
That
You
was-
can't find that series anymore.
that clip was like probably like one of the first breast expansion videos I ever came across, like during my awakening
same.
period when I was like 14.
That and G4 TV's little dive into inflation content. Which, how did that fucking air on fucking TV?
Wait, what G4 thing? 'Cause this is ringing a bell, but I don't think I remember entirely.
When G4 TV first came around, they had Olivia Munn, was it? I don't fucking know. As a host. And for like a little internet culture deep dive segment, they dove into the concept of inflation. And they showed a bunch of videos from different fetish things. They just were like, yeah, this is a fetish that exists. And it was like a little 2-minute thing. They're like, it's weird. And that was on TV. And I remember seeing like uploads of it. I'm like, this is so bizarre to see.
Did she wear a fat suit?
She did, but that was completely separate.
Okay,
That was like a different
all right. Just the thought of like, oh yeah, Olivia Munn and inflation scenarios. I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah.
I think that
I
fat suit
could get
thing
behind
was
that.
super controversial too. But overall, like Spike TV, they had Titty Bang Bang, which was part of A Thousand Ways to Die. A Thousand Ways to Die, by the way, almost all of those deaths are unrealistic, and none of them were true. They were not real. It was a gimmick show.
Right.
It was for Spike TV. So if you believe any of it, you shouldn't, and you shouldn't try any of it either. I don't condone trying any of the death methods in that show.
Yeah, no. Like having big titties is not worth exploding.
No, but also
even if that were physically possible.
This would never happen. The logic is sound if you don't know how planes work. if you are not aware of planes, yeah, it makes sense totally.
I think that's kind of just this entire community in a nutshell. Yeah, a lot of this is scientifically sound if you don't know how the human body works.
Yeah, no, like I have a technical theoretical means of making the 3-course dinner gum. It doesn't make sense in science. It is entirely impossible. But it's a fascinating scene. Chick gets like implants from like South American country. It's like really racist. Like really racist.
I mean, it was Spike TV in like the late 2000s. Of course, it was racist.
Yeah, it was awful. But like, she goes to a secondhand like titty dealer, and then
a titty dealer.
That's what it is. And she like, as the plane rises in altitude, her chest expands. I need to say, as a person who knows how airplanes work and who knows how this shit works, if there is a pressure problem in the cabin, that causes that to happen, you're already dead. That would never happen. You would never have your implants expand like that to that size, to threatening levels, unless one, they were too big for you in the first place, or two, they shouldn't be in your body.
Yeah, no, I've had to deal with tinnitus or whatever you call it, like when you're on an airplane and there's a pressure differentiation. Like, I've had to deal with that shit before, and if that was how that worked in real life, I feel like your head would explode before your tits exploded.
100%, because it's Spike TV, so you just have this absurd series of events happen. Her tits like quintuple in size. You have a guy say that strippers got a bomb in her chest. And then he dives behind his seat.
Yeah. It's like another prime example of the fetish aspect and the body horror aspect just completely mixing together like a Reese's peanut butter cup.
It should be noted too, I know how this works. I follow a plane crash podcast. I know what they would do in that situation.
Oh my god.
They would have to land immediately. They would have to ground the plane.
Look, I mean,
they would not finish the flight.
Look, I mean, I listen to stories about cave diving incidents, so I'm hardly one to judge you.
It's such a bizarre, it's just as bizarre as the fucking Slither scene, because no one is acting the way humans would act. And I think that does add to it. If there's a campiness to it, a levity that people can laugh at, or at least passively like, oh, I can laugh at this, it's funny, then they can at least enjoy it without feeling guilt.
The campiness gives like a degree of separation between the viewer and what's going on screen. Like, they can obviously suspend their disbelief enough to enjoy the unreality of it, but they know that it's not real. But then compare that to the scene in Cloverfield where it's, grounded and
super real.
And it's super real, and like the reactions are genuine and horrified, and just
oh my god, our friend just exploded.
Oh my god, our friend just exploded. Like, it's horrifying, and you kind of feel a little guilty just being like, okay, well the part where her body got bigger, that was kind of hot.
This is why I think the same like argument when it comes to realism can be utilized when it comes to like super realistic sci-fi versus Star Wars. Like, it's the same argument. Like, you don't want realism in terms of like, this is scientifically accurate. You want realism in this is believable and these are people, and like but it's like the opposite direction, where you don't want reality to be too present. You want people to be fun and give you some sort of excuse to not believe it, because if you can believe it, it upsets you. like you feel like shit because you're like, oh, this is awful. And campiness is like the ground. It is the ground floor of fetishism. If you want to explore kinks, you have to have a form of levity and like limitation and understanding of boundaries, and you have to be willing to laugh at being aroused, and understand the situation you're playing in, however serious or playful or all that kind of stuff is. You have to have a form of like disbelief, otherwise it feels too real and it takes you out of it.
Yeah. And like, there's some people who are into sadism, but it's like, that's not everybody.
And it should be like known, even if they're into it. It's not like 50 Shades of Grey, where it's like hyper serious, drama. Like, that's good to read and engage with, but it's not fun to live.
50 Shades is a bad example because it's like Christian Grey just doesn't fucking know what consent is.
He's a shitty person. It's fun to read. It's not real.
I'm gonna contest you on it being fun to read. It is not from like a moral standpoint, but from a writing standpoint. She just uses the same words again and again and again.
It's fucking fan fiction that got on the New York Times bestseller list. The way that when I say fun to read, I don't mean like for anyone. It's if you like that, which I knew people who did. It's engaging to read, because like it's the same reason why like for a long time like we had really dark and fucked up inflation content that had some like questionable shit in it, but people read it because they're like, it's my kink. It adds drama, it adds intrigue, it adds dynamic, but it's not realistic. Two, it's not how it should be, and we know it's not how it should be. And that's why like when 50 Shades came out and when people started digesting kink critically in our community, people were like, all right, it's time to stop doing these fucked up stories. It's time to stop doing these fucked up revenge.
I've come to a conclusion that a lot of kink stories tend to become less fucked up the more that they're accepted within the mainstream. The thing about 50 Shades of Grey was that, again, Christian Grey is a fucked up man who doesn't know anything about consent. But it's like you have all of these white suburban moms who are prudish like 99% of the time, but it's like there's this thing that's like very risque to them because they don't know.
It's a good gateway. It's not a good standard.
Right, because they haven't been exposed to any of the good stuff.
Yeah. It's like shitty weed, and then you get good weed, and then you go back to the shitty weed, and you're like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah. And then just like in our
I've
community,
never smoked
like
weed.
and just like in our community, you see that our community is a bit more well-known and organized, and now we don't have quite as many, fucked up stories now.
And I would also add that is a benefit to mainstreaming. As much as I love the concept of being a niche online subculture, I dread it also because it emboldens people to make bad behaviors and do bad things.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, no one's going to know. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to know. And other people are going to know. And people are going to know. But just because it's in an insubstantial place that no one gives a shit about, no one's going to know in your mind. I get the desire to not be in the moonlight, not be in the sunlight, not be visible. That's fine. There's a difference between not being visible and actively actively being opposed to normalizing it. Because normalizing it in a way and making it less scary or less, what's the word? Less
inaccessible?
Shameful. Less shameful. Accessibility is the thing that we're striving for, but making it less shameful is a good thing. Making it so that people are like, oh, I know what that is, and that's fine, and it's not that weird, and you can have that, and we can talk it out. I see no detriment to people being able to do that. If you were able to go up to a partner and say, hey, I like this. I know it's weird. It's kind of fucking weird. And they turn around and say, it's not that weird. I've heard weirder, and engage with you on it. That's a bigger benefit than having this weird shameful secret. It's the most scary thing for me, to have to deal with that. It's the scary, and I'm not alone in that regard. It's it took me with my ex, 3 years to be able to say it, and even then I still struggle to talk frankly about it. And I've run this fucking podcast. We have this podcast where it's talk frankly about it, be open about it, be unshameful,
I mean, I don't tell everybody about this in my life for obvious reasons, but
I don't go in front of my church and say it.
But, a couple close friends or, sexual partners I've had in the past, or if the topic of kink and fetish just happens to come up in conversation with people who are open to that kind of thing, I haven't really been afraid to talk about my interests in that regard, and I feel like I am a much more...
It's healthy.
I feel like a much healthier, more liberated person as a result of that, because it's I don't have to hide this thing from the world that I feel shameful about.
The difference between perversion and frank and open sexuality is this. Perversion is knowing that it is upsetting people. Frank and open discussions on sexuality, people are able to converse healthy and able to be healthy about it, and there's no shame. The difference between perversion and frank discussions are shame. And you want to have that frank and open sexuality and discussion and be able to talk to friends and be like, hey, I'm having issues here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to talk about this. If you couldn't do that, you'd just be asking random strangers on the internet, how the fuck do you get somebody to do this without their consent, And that's disgusting. That's scary. But being able to have these frank and open discussions really helps. That's where the levity of fetishism comes from. That's why I think that's how we get attracted to those kinds of scenes is there's levity and the ability to understand this isn't realistic. This isn't real, and there is a fundamental unreality to what we like.
Especially since it is unfortunately not physically possible.
God, if it was.
Keep the dream alive.
If it was. But yeah, no. I think it's important to have these interesting discussions and deep dives because it allows people to be like, oh, I can think deeper about the shit I like, and I don't have to just feel bad about it, and I can explore it.
Exactly.
Deep think your horniness. Plus, it's really fun to actually think about it. That's why I did a lot of the early stuff I did exploring how fetishes came to be, because It's fun. God, it's fun.
Well, yeah.
It's really fun to think about this shit.
It's just fun to just sort of dissect what makes certain neurons in our brain go brrr.
Plus, fetishes and fetishism are social. So it's a way of talking to groups of people and like socializing in a very intimate sense. It's a form of intimacy that I think like people need to explore more because it allows them to be more authentic with themselves and genuine with themselves. It is like a art form. And we got here talking about Slither, which is really fun. I enjoyed talking about Slither. That was fun.
Like I told you this discussion would end up evolving into something more broad.
Oh, big time. In summation, fuck Brenda.
What did Brenda do?
She exploded.
Well, yeah, but like she was a victim.
Nah, that's fair. I was just being fucking mean.
She just wanted to eat that possum.
Oh god. I see possums as friends, not food. They are the rat kings and queens that hiss at us.
Well, okay, yeah, but try being pregnant with 1,000 like alien bloodworms, and then tell me how much you want.
Oh yeah, they are
possums to be your
bloodworms.
friends.
That concept gave me an idea, a variant of blueberry inflation that I won't get into because I don't want to talk about myself. But it's very interesting. It's a very cool, very fascinating concept. Mr. Gunn, what the hell was going through your brain? Are you okay, Mr. James?
Mr. James
is okay? Are fine?
I mean, he seems to be doing well. I just saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and it was fucking phenomenal.
Oh, it looks so good.
So I think we can now like sort of round everything out.
Round.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
All right. We have one little segment left, and that is our closeout. We're going to roll a d20, and whatever the 20 lands on, that is the factory fate, and that is how you, the audience, will be doomed until next episode.
We also changed number 12 since that was the one we rolled last time. So if we roll 12 again, we'll get a totally different fate.
Yeah. Last time, y'all got murked by a gobstopper, JFK style.
Like it wasn't even a fantastical death. It was just you just got shot.
No, you were.
That's just being in America.
Fucking yes, but you got shot by a gobstopper. That's not American. Oh my god!
All right, roll that dice.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Please don't get 12 again. I will. Come on, that's cocked. Okay. 1. You become a test subject.
You become a test subject.
Talk about body horror. You're fucked.
Does Wonka have his own version of GLaDOS from Portal?
Yeah, actually. Would you like to know factory lore?
Sure.
So, in the 2005 Charlie and the Chocolate Factory video game, you have Oompa Loompas, which you're like, hey, I need help.
Right.
And then you have what the Oompa Loompas were originally going to be replaced by, or like originally going to be before Willy Wonka realized the free concept of slave labor. And that was the Wonka bots. And the Wonka bots are connected by a network of some kind, and they are wholly antagonistic. God, I wonder why.
I need like some kind of crossover between Willy Wonka and Portal, where Willy Wonka is like either out of the picture or working alongside GLaDOS to maintain the factory.
That's fair. You know what I need? Mixture of Wonka and something else. What was it? I had what was it? Damn it. I'm out of it. I lost it. Damn it. But yeah, no. Wonka and Portal would be a very funny concept. It would work too. Yes. He would absolutely have a portal. Are you kidding me?
As a cutaway gag, I'm gonna see if I can try to do like some kind of like AI thing where I make GLaDOS say something like blueberry related.
We'll close out if you can find AI, because I'm sure you could find AI GLaDOS things. We will close out with GLaDOS just doing random stereotypical blueberry lines, but in AI voice format, and that is how we will close out. So now that you are a test subject, you will be introduced to our Factory machine AI. Bye.
Bye. Hi, Sassy from the future here. So, considering that we already had a whole segment in this episode dedicated to AI bad, I was already starting to have second thoughts on going through with this gag. But due to recent shifts in the entertainment industry between now and when this podcast was recorded, I figured it would actually be in really, really bad taste if I went through ahead with this AI gag with the GLaDOS voice. So instead of doing that, sit back and appreciate my impeccable voice acting.
Well then. You know, I had a feeling all those comments about your weight might have been getting to you. What do you even expect me to do with this? You're certainly in no position to continue testing. Even if you could move, we're not even close to inventing a portal device remotely big enough. So I suppose we're at an impasse. I must say, though, the color does suit you quite nicely with the jumpsuit. Looks like you finally found a way to wear it so that it doesn't look so stupid. I wonder where you possibly could have had the idea to combine blue and orange. I suppose these tests must be doing us some good after all. Perhaps once we've had you properly juiced, we can actually explore that hypothesis. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I suppose.